Chapter 2498. Half an hour later, the experts of the Tao Defiance who were attacking the sky screen disappeared from the battlefield of the Two Realms River like a receding tide, leaving countless corpses floating on the battlefield. The failure of the attack on the sky screen meant that the Tao Defiance would not have the ability or opportunity to break through the sky screen in the future. The Tao Defiance were well prepared this time. First, they used the vitality of countless lives to create the Nine Suns Extermination Array and lure the Mountain Guardian to the Two Realms River. The evil god sealed in the exalted celestial mountain descended and took the opportunity to break the seal shackles, causing the seventh blood sun, evil sun, to rise into the sky. The Mountain Guardian was forced to sacrifice himself to stop the situation from worsening. Then, the evil god's clone descended and tore the sky screen apart. Emperor Hin, Emperor Ku Xian, and the demonic sky demon saint, who were hiding in the sky beacon god world, worked together. Even a transcendent expert like the ancestor Luo could not stop the calamity. Seeing that the sky screen's defense had fallen, Su Fong appeared and turned the situation around. After a few twists and turns, the humans finally won and the Tao Defiance retreated in defeat. However, the humans also suffered heavy losses. 7 human emperors and great saints of the demon clan who had entered the battlefield of the Two Realms River had died. Even the supreme beings of the Emperor clan were severely injured. In the sky beacon god world, Xiao Wanning was severely injured, and countless other cultivators and Big Goblin were killed or injured. The human cultivator's greatest loss was the Mountain Guardian. Even if all the emperors worked together, they could not compare to a transcendent expert. The Mountain Guardian had sacrificed himself, which meant that the universe had lost its pillar. QL11, the only fortunate thing was that the Tao Defiance did not have any other transcendent experts apart from the evil god's clone. Moreover, it was unknown how much strength the clone could unleash and how long it could exist. The humans also had the ancestor Luo from the Outer Realms, who was enough to intimidate the Tao Defiance. This time, they had finally survived the calamity. Everyone, including the Imperial people, felt like they had survived the calamity. While they were rejoicing, swoosh, 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 countless gazes were focused on Su Fong. At this moment, Su Fong's body seemed to be enveloped in boundless radiance, causing the myriad of worlds to revere him. With a single hand, he had reversed the heavens and earth and saved the myriad worlds. With such an unrivaled merit, how could they not be shocked and grateful? Moreover, Su Fong had single-handedly changed the fate of the myriad of worlds and killed the emperors and countless experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance. With such talent and strength, how could people not look up to him? Even the supreme sovereigns looked at Su Fong with shock and admiration. The supreme existence of the imperial people let out a long sigh inwardly. From today onwards, who in the world will be able to cover up the brilliance of the Su Fong? This is definitely not a good thing for our clan. Previously, Su Fong mingled in Yuan Tiangong. During the grand marriage ceremony between Di Xuan and Xuan Xin, they forcefully slapped the imperial people in the face, making the imperial people's supreme existences dejected and had no choice but to suppress their anger. Then, Su Fong plundered the Yuan Tiangong like a swarm of locusts passing through. The supreme existence of the imperial people had no choice but to swallow their anger. Su Fong killed Di Yuan in the lifeless prairie. Although he did it secretly, he could not hide it from the supreme existence of the imperial people. However, Su Fong had the origin sacred mirror, and the only hope of the myriad of worlds was in his hands. The supreme existence of the imperial people had no choice but to accept it. Su Fong had repeatedly angered the supreme existence of the imperial people. As long as he entered the celestial worthy mountain, regardless of whether he succeeded or failed, he would not be able to escape the fate of being disposed of. However, in this battle, Su Fong had turned the tide. He was admired by the myriad worlds, and his reputation was unparalleled. Even the supreme existence of the imperial people did not dare to touch him. What made the supreme existence of the imperial people even more fearful was the illusory figure that had saved Su Fong in the end. Even a transcendence-level expert could be killed. Su Fong had such a powerful backing. Who else in this world could kill him? At this moment, Su Fong was like a divine sun rising against the heavens. Who would stop him? Even the supreme existence of the imperial people could not stop Su Fong's rise. The supreme existence of the imperial people had no choice but to suppress the killing intent in their hearts to the deepest part of their hearts. At the same time, they suppressed their injuries and flew towards Su Fong with smiles on their faces. If Su Fong takes revenge on us, how should we express our goodwill? The sovereigns of the Qi people, the sovereigns of the Yi people, the sovereigns of the Duanmu divine clan, and the Luo divine clan were secretly communicating with each other. All of them were extremely fearful of Su Fong. They were worried that Su Fong would settle accounts with them in the future. Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi had once hunted down Huang Lingyao and Xuanxin. The experts of the Duanmu divine clan and the Luo divine clan had also tried to kill Huang Lingyao and seize the treasures left behind by Su Fong. Now that Su Fong had returned, he had made a great contribution in saving the myriad of worlds. Moreover, they had witnessed Su Fong's strength with their own eyes. At this moment, he already possessed the strength to kill sovereigns. In particular, the illusory figure that had neutralized the Tao Defiance Alliance Master's powerful attack made them feel extremely reverent. The current Su Fong was no longer the genius of the past. He was a peerless figure who could stand shoulder to shoulder with sovereigns and even surpass supreme sovereigns. The sovereigns of the Qi people, the Yi people, the Luo divine clan, and the Duanmu divine clan were powerful, and the overall strength of the four divine clans and the myriad of worlds was extremely strong. However, at this moment, they were nothing in front of Su Fong. Moreover, Su Fong was not a kind person. If someone punched him, he would return the punch with 10 punches. If someone took away a blade of grass from him, he would chop down a tree from them. They were targeting Su Fong's Tao companion and subordinates. How could Su Fong let them go when he found out? The four sovereigns were terrified when they thought of Su Fong's revenge, and they couldn't help but tremble. Unlike the four sovereigns, the sovereign of Sanskrit was extremely glad. Fortunately, we didn't get any news about the Xianming sect master last time. Otherwise, this sovereign would have definitely gone to hunt down the Xianming sect master and seize Su Fong's treasures. Now, someone is going to be in big trouble. The supreme existence of the imperial people came to Su Fong and personally accompanied Su Fong as they flew towards the sky beacon divine realm. Su Fong's holy son. The sovereigns and great saints of the demon race who had survived the battle came forward and cupped their fists towards Su Fong with smiles on their faces. Their eyes and tone were filled with respect and flattery. This is the benefit of strength. In the past, which of these sovereigns didn't look down on me like an ant? Now that I've shown my great strength to kill a sovereign, each and every one of them has put down their dignity and arrogance and come forward to flatter me. Su Fong sighed in his heart, but he still smiled and cupped his fists towards the sovereigns and great saints of the demon race. Sovereign Sang Xiao, Sovereign Only Dao, Sovereign Zhu. Seeing the two sovereigns, Sovereign Sang Xiao and Only Dao, as well as the old man in a fiery red robe from the Fire God Zhu clan, Su Fong greeted them respectfully. Sovereign Sang Xiao and Sovereign Only Dao had taken care of Su Fong a lot in the past. The sovereign master of the Fire God Zhu clan had also fought for Su Fong's family when Su Fong was imprisoned in the divine prison of Heaven's Law. Therefore, Su Fong was especially respectful to the three of them. The three sovereigns immediately felt honored and nodded to Su Fong with smiles and cupped their fists. Su Fong also saw the Sanskrit sovereign and asked, "Lord Brahma Monarch, I wonder if the matter I asked you to do has been completed?" Before Su Fong entered the two realms battlefield, he had arranged for Brahma Monarch to go to the Great World and bring the Great Worlds crossing Heaven Sect to the myriad worlds. It was only now that Su Fong had the chance to see Brahma Monarch again, so he asked, "Don't worry, Saint Su Fong. The matter has been handled properly. Your sect in the Great World has been brought back to the myriad worlds by this emperor and settled in the Hunyuan Heaven realm. Brahma monarch replied politely. Back then, he was unwilling to go to the great world, but now he felt that the trip to the great world was really worth it. Su Fong and the Sanskrit had a deep hatred in the past. Through this matter, Su Fong could at least resolve a lot of the hatred in his heart. In the future, if he deliberately befriended the Sanskrit sovereign, he might be able to resolve the hatred. Brahma monarch was secretly proud. He looked at Emperor Qi, Emperor Yi, and the others with gloating eyes. Thank you, Lord Brahma monarch. Su Fong cupped his fist to the Sanskrit sovereign. Qi people's sovereigns. I'll make you pay for the matter of chasing Huang Lingyao in a few days. Su Fong found that some of the sovereigns were looking at him evasively. He sneered in his heart and ignored them for the time being. He was about to enter the sky screen. Emperor Tru Yang suddenly said to Su Fong, Saint Su Fong, this emperor has some karma with the Hunyuan sacred mirror. Can I borrow it to take a look? Su Fong's eyebrows furrowed, and his eyes were as cold as ice. The Hunyuan sacred mirror was Su Fong's most important treasure. At the same time, it was also the key to whether or not one could enter the celestial worthy mountain. Emperor Tru Yang dared to open his mouth and asked to see the Hunyuan sacred mirror. It was like asking someone to take out his wife's clothes and let him see her. How could Su Fong tolerate this? The supreme existence of the imperial people shouted coldly, Emperor Tru Yang, don't be presumptuous. Emperor Tru Yang smiled embarrassedly. This emperor just wants to take a look at the Hunyuan sacred mirror. I don't mean any harm. I think Saint Su Fong won't refuse. Su Fong said domineeringly, I won't lend the Hunyuan sacred mirror to outsiders. If Emperor Tru Yang wants to see it, you could try to take it from me. I'm afraid you don't have the strength to do so. Emperor Tru Yang snorted inexplicably and didn't say anything else. Arriving in front of the sky curtain, Su Fong used the power of the yin-yang world to envelop his divine body. In an instant, he transcended heaven and earth and passed through the sky curtain. This scene caused the eyes of many emperor masters to suddenly freeze, revealing a look of shock and horror. The sky curtain was personally created by the mountain guardian. It was integrated with heaven and earth. Unless it was a transcendent being, no one could shake it. Even the supreme existence of the imperial people had to go through the sky curtain to enter the sky beacon god realm through the sky curtain. When entering the sky curtain, it would automatically recognize them. If they didn't have a waste token, or if their destiny aura was abnormal, they would be shackled and sent to the Guanghan prison. Su Fong actually ignored the sky curtain's obstruction and directly passed through it. It was truly incredible. Su Fong has indeed transcended the shackles of heaven and earth. Even the sky curtain can't shackle him. Why is the Luo ancestor rejected by heaven and earth in the universe? But Su Fong isn't restricted in any way. The Hunyuan sacred mirror was personally created by the heavenly venerable creator. Su Fong has integrated with the Hunyuan sacred mirror and cultivated the art of the Hunyuan sacred mirror. He is like the successor of the heavenly venerable. Even if he transcends and returns to this world, why would he be restricted? Chapter 2499. Su Fong stepped out of the sky veil and looked over. On the other side of the sky curtain, the sky beacon god world was already in a state of devastation. Most of the damage was caused by the clone's attack on the sky curtain, and it caused the entire sky beacon god world to tremble violently. Almost everything in the sky beacon god world had been destroyed, and countless great monsters and gods had died. In addition, Xiao Wanting and many other human cultivators and Big Goblin were fighting against Emperor Ku Xian and Emperor Hao Yuan, making the sky beacon god world even worse. However, none of this attracted Su Fong's attention. His divine light fell on Xuanxin and didn't move away. Both of them had gone through a life-and-death situation, and Su Fong suddenly felt like a lifetime had passed. A smile appeared on Xian Xian's cold face, which seemed to have never melted. The gloomy haze that covered the sky dimmed in an instant. Then, tears gushed out from her eyes. Although she had become stronger, and the cruel reality had made her methods more ruthless and domineering, all of this was because of Su Fong's support. Now that she finally saw Su Fong, she felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted from her body. At the same time, she felt that she had a solid support. Whoosh, Su Fang's appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention and caused an uproar. Master, you're finally back. Master, you're not dead. That's great. Master is mighty. Looking at the sky, joking around and making noise about June. Chase after Z, Dan, and Flatten, Jiao, Julian, looking. Scarlet Fish, throw music score screen, looking at the sky, looking at the sky. Dang Feng, Xiang Meng Meng Song Chio, looking at the sky. Greetings, Holy Sun, Su Fang. Holy Sun, Su Fang has saved the world. We will never forget your kindness. Some cultivators and Big Goblin cheered loudly and bowed to Su Fang. The shattered sky beacon god world was in an uproar. Tianyang stared at Su Fang and was extremely shocked. Su Fang, he has soared into the sky after today's battle. He has stepped on the corpses of the exports of the Dao Defiance Alliance and risen in defiance of the heavens. Unfortunately, I, Tianyang, don't have such fortune and fortune. If I had the Chaos Divine Mirror and Supreme Karmic Luck, I would definitely be able to surpass Su Fang. Tianyang's heart was filled with jealousy and dissatisfaction. He smiled and flew toward Su Fang. Su Fang, I am Tianyang. However, Su Fang acted as if he didn't see him. He treated him as air and went straight for Xuanxin. At this moment, the only person in the world that could enter his eyes was Xuanxin. The smile on Tianyang's face froze as if he had been greatly humiliated. Then, a fierce aura surged in his heart. How arrogant! You don't even put me, Tianyang, in your eyes. You are too arrogant. Under everyone's gaze, Su Fang came to Xuanxin's side and pulled her into his arms. He didn't let go for a long time. The attention of thousands of people and the praise of experts couldn't compare to the affectionate hug of a loved one. Seeing this scene, the eyes of the women were filled with hot tears. They were extremely envious and wished that they could replace Xuanxin and be hugged by Su Fang. If a woman could find a Dao companion like Su Fang in this life, she wouldn't have any regrets even if she died. At this moment, Dixuan laughed loudly. Su Fang, you didn't even look at me when you saw me. Instead, you hugged your Dao companion and didn't let go. Aren't you a little too much? Only then did Su Fang let go of Xuanxin. Xuanxin's flawless face was flushed red. Dixuan, you still owe me a drink. How could I forget you? Su Fang laughed and flew forward. He hit Dixuan with his right palm. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. Gui and Long Niao flew over and played around Su Fang for a while. Then, they were taken into the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace in Su Fang's body. Then, Su Fang saw Huang Lingyao and secretly sent her a message with his vital spirit. Huang Lingyao, is my grandfather's soul safe and sound? This was what he was most worried about. Your grandfather's soul is safe and sound. The resources and treasures that you asked me to take care of for you have all been handed over to your Dao companion. Huang Lingyao replied coldly. She was like a living dead person. Su Fang's heart suddenly calmed down. Then he said, The Lord of Tianlun has been killed by me. Your sister's death has been avenged. You don't have to keep this matter in mind. The Lord of Tianlun was killed by you? Huang Lingyao's dead eyes finally bloomed with a trace of color. She immediately said with certainty, With your current strength, it is not difficult to kill the Lord of Tianlun. I once promised that as long as you kill the Lord of Tianlun, I will recognize you as my master. From now on, I will be your slave. You will follow me in the future. Maybe one day, I will help you fulfill your wish and set foot on the endless peak. Su Fang had already put down all the previous grievances in the worldlet and the big world. He also sighed with emotion about Huang Lingyao's experience. So, he decided to keep her by his side. Xiao Wanting came to Su Fang when he was about to ask about Huang Lingyao being hunted. At first sight of Xiao Wanting, Su Fang's face was full of shock. Lord Emperor Xiao Wanting, a peerless emperor expert, had his divine body corroded beyond recognition by the demonic poison. His aura was so weak that Su Fang almost couldn't recognize him. Dixuan told Su Fong about what happened in the Sky Beacon Divine World. Emperor Hao Yuan is actually a spy of the Tao Defiance Union. Su Fong found it unbelievable. But on second thought, when the world was facing a catastrophe, there would always be some scum who would do some shameless things in order to survive. Su Fong didn't have a good impression of Xiao Wanting. Back in the Hunyuan Heaven world, Su Fong was bullied by the Luo clan. Xiao Wanting came forward and killed the dead king with his own hands. Su Fong still couldn't forget this matter. This time, Xiao Wanting came forward bravely, which made Su Fong respect Xiao Wanting. The hatred in his heart dissipated by more than half. Xiao Wanting cupped his fists and bowed to Su Fong. I have offended you in the past. I hope you don't take it to heart. When I recover slightly, I will definitely come to you to apologize. Lord, please get up. Let bygones be bygones. Su Fong used his divine power to lift Xiao Wanting up. Su Fong's perfect vision swept across Xiao Wanting's body. He raised his eyebrows. The demonic poison in Emperor Zhao's body is so powerful. Xiao Wanting smiled bitterly. This is the demonic poison from the ancestor demon. It will take millions of years to expel all the poison. And this is just expelling the poison. If I want to recover to my peak state, it will take at least 10 million years. Dixuan and the others also shook their heads. Su Fong said, I have a way to detoxify the poison. I don't know if Emperor Xiao is willing to give it a try. My lord, your means are unfathomable. I admire you. But the demonic poison from the ancestor demon, well, let's just give it a try. My lord, please do it. Xiao Wanting sat down cross-legged in the air. He had no choice but to let Su Fong have a try. He was worried that if he refused, it would make Su Fong unhappy. However, he didn't have any hope in his heart. The demonic poison from the ancestor demon was the most poisonous thing in the universe. Even if Su Fong's divine power was heaven-defying, how could he deal with the demonic poison from the Daozu demon? After Xiao Wanting sat down, Su Fong used a Xian Guang to envelop Xiao Wanting. Amazing yang qi gushed out from his palms. Xiao Wanting gave up his defense and allowed the 9 yang qi to seep into his skin and into his blood. If he hadn't seen Xiao Wanting fight against Ku Xuan and Hao Yuan, saving the Sky Beacon Divine World and saving Xuanxin and his subordinates, how could Su Fong be willing to use the precious 9 yang qi to detoxify him? Xiao Wanting felt the extreme yang qi erupting in his body like a flood. In an instant, it merged with his divine body. His inner world and divine aperture were also infiltrated by the 9 yang qi. Such a powerful force that contains amazing vitality. My lord, Su Fong, is indeed extraordinary. Xiao Wanting felt his flesh and blood corroded by the devilish poison suddenly glowing with vitality under the power of the 9 suns, causing his already withered life force to rapidly increase. He couldn't help but be surprised and delighted. He hurriedly cooperated with Su Fong's power of the 9 suns, erupting with divine might and forcing the devilish poison out of his body. At this time, Su Fong activated Gui's ability and used it together with the 9 yang qi to suck the demonic poison out of Xiao Wanting's body. Gui squeaked excitedly in Su Fong's heaven and earth Dao palace. The demonic poison from the ancestral devil was fatal to venerable sovereigns. However, to Gui, it was a supreme treasure for her cultivation. After absorbing the demonic poison, Gui's poison would become even more terrifying. My lord, Su Fong. Xiao Wanting was shocked when he saw Su Fong not only use his own supreme power to help him recover his vitality and blood, but also used his divine ability to absorb the poison for him. Dixuan and the others beside him were also shocked. After a while, when they saw Su Fong was safe and sound, they were relieved. They were shocked by Su Fong's ability. There was obvious shock in Xiao Wanting's eyes, and he was grateful to Su Fong. In about an incense stick's worth of time, the demonic poison in Xiao Wanting's body had been completely devoured by Gui. His vitality and blood energy had also recovered by quite a bit. Although he was still far from his peak state, not only was Xiao Wanting's life no longer in danger, he would be able to return to his peak state in, at most, 100 years. Seeing that all the poison in Xiao Wanting's body had been forced out, Su Fong stopped the output of the 9 yang qi. Xiao Wanting sensed the changes in his body and was pleasantly surprised. He hurriedly thanked Su Fong. Holy Sun's methods make this Xiao prostrate in admiration. If I have the chance in the future, I will definitely repay this great kindness. If I need help in the future, I will definitely ask Emperor Xiao for help. This time, he had treated and detoxified Xiao Wanting's injuries, so it was not in vain. He owed this lord a favor, and it might be useful in the future. Xiao Wanting was a top expert in the myriad heavens. Among the many venerable sovereigns, he was considered outstanding. Sometimes, a favor from him was even more valuable than a divine weapon of creation. QL11 at this time, the supreme existences of the imperial people and other venerable sovereigns had also returned to the sky beacon divine world from the other side of the sky curtain. After learning about what had happened in the sky beacon divine world, the supreme existences of the imperial people immediately gave orders to hunt down Emperor Haoyuan in the myriad heavens. Hearing that Su Fong had helped Xiao Wanting to detoxify the demonic poison of the ancestor demon, those venerable sovereigns looked at Su Fong with eyes full of shock. Next, Su Fong will Huang Ling Yao Wang Tian, Zhenrong Hui Chao, longing for the misty sect, school, pouring water, longing for Moxibustion. Then, together with Xuanxin, he returned to the Yuan Tiangong. Naturally, the venerable sovereigns would deal with the aftermath of the sky beacon divine world. The most important thing for Su Fong now was to return to the Yuan Tiangong and reunite with his father. Then, he would do everything possible to help his grandfather reconstruct his body. Chapter 2500. To go to the Yuan Tiangong, one had to pass through the Stargate and go through long-distance teleportation. However, with Su Fong's current strength, he was able to cross an endless distance in an instant, passing through natural barriers and dangerous places. Not long after he left the sky beacon divine world, Su Fong came to a desolate ruin and took out the Dark Valley Origin Pearl. He peeled off a Yang spirit and entered the Dark Valley Origin Pearl. After more than 10,000 years of nourishment from the soul marrow nether elixir, his grandfather's soul had become more condensed, far surpassing the souls of ordinary people. What made Su Fong even more excited was that his grandfather's soul had obviously regained consciousness. Grandfather. Su Fong's Yang spirit knelt down in front of the white-haired hunchbacked old man Shadow. Although his Tao heart was incomparably firm, he could not help but be overwhelmed with emotions at this moment. Su Fong's grandfather's soul looked at Su Fong, revealing a puzzled expression. After a while, Su Fong's grandfather's soul finally recalled and could not help but tremble. "You are Fonger." Su Fong's Yang spirit's voice also trembled. "Yes, grandfather. I am your grandson, Su Fong." Su Fong's grandfather's soul said with a trembling voice, "Fonger? You are indeed Fonger. How can I see you again?" "Oh no. Could it be that you are already dead and have come to the 9 underworlds to suffer? Grandfather is really old and muddle-headed. After so many years, how can you not die? Sigh, I didn't expect that we would be reunited in the netherworld. It seems that the heavens are really good to me." Grandfather's soul sighed. Su Fong said, "Grandfather, this is not the 9 underworlds, and I am not dead. It is I who rescued you from the yin yang heavenly wheel from the 9 underworlds." "Nonsense. After so many years, how can you not die? Unless you become a legendary immortal. Even immortals will die. Grandfather has seen many immortals and even legendary gods in the yin-yang heavenly wheel all these years. Do you think that it is not enough?" Su Fong knew that he couldn't explain it clearly to his grandfather, so he used his primordial spirit to protect his grandfather's soul and moved it out of the Dark Valley Origin Pearl. Seeing the natural world that was completely different from the world led, and then seeing Su Fong's real body, Grandpa's soul was shaken. "Fonger, are you really not dead? Could this be the immortal world? Fong, could it be that you've really become an immortal? My grandson has actually become an immortal." "Immortal?" Su Fong chuckled. Soon after, he said domineeringly, "Grandfather, you're underestimating your grandson too much. Right now, in my eyes, immortals aren't even comparable to ants. At most, they're just dust." Grandpa's soul trembled. "Have you become a god?" Su Fong smiled proudly and said, "Not only have I become a deity, but I'm also the most powerful existence in the deity realm, making all the world submit to me." Shocking. What a surprise. Grandpa's soul found it hard to accept such shocking news. He had been killed by an expert from the Wu clan and entered the netherworld cycle of reincarnation. Now, he had actually come to the legendary god realm. His grandson, who couldn't cultivate, had actually become a peerless expert in all the worlds in the universe. Such shocking news. If Su Fong's soul hadn't been nourished by the soul marrow elixir for so many years and become strong and sturdy, it would probably have been shattered by such shocking news. Then, Su Fong asked Xuanqin to come and pay him a visit. The old man smiled so widely that he couldn't close his mouth. Then he sighed and said, "It's a pity for your father and mother. If they knew about your current achievements, I don't know how happy they would be." Su Fong said, "Grandpa, my mother's soul has already been reincarnated, and she's reincarnated in a rich family. It can be said that she has found a good home. As for my father, it won't be long before you see him. He's also in the God realm now, and I'll use my supreme divine ability to help you reconstruct your physical body. In the future, our family will be able to reunite." Su Fong's grandfather was completely stunned. He swayed and looked as if he was about to shatter. After all, he was a mortal soul. After hearing so much shocking news in succession, it was already not easy for him to hold on until now. Su Fong was so scared that he hurriedly put his grandfather's soul into the Dark Valley Origin Pearl. If anything happened, it would be called extreme joy begetting sorrow. Su Fong was very happy that his grandfather's soul was safe and sound, and he had regained his consciousness. Next, Su Fong's young spirit continued to stay in the Dark Valley Origin Pearl and told his grandfather's soul about his experiences over the years. Then, Su Fong and Xuanqin flew together to Yuan Tiangong. Along the way, there was naturally a lot of love and affection. They wanted to make up for the time they were separated. Now that the two of them were cultivating together, it was no longer of much use to Su Fong. However, the benefits for Xuanqin were incomparably shocking. In addition, Su Fong's realm had already reached the Transcendence realm. On the way, he constantly guided Xuanqin's cultivation, which was of great help to Xuanqin. On the way, Su Fong also asked Xuanqin and Huang Lingyao about them being hunted down. He learned that the Duanmu divine clan, the Luo clan, Emperor Yi, Emperor Qi, and the Guanghan Emperor had all tried to kill Huang Lingyao and snatch the treasures left by Su Fong. If it weren't for the timely appearance of the Mountain Guardian's primordial spirit, not only would Xuanqin and Huang Lingyao have been killed, but the resources and treasures left for their relatives would also have been divided up. Even his grandfather's soul would have been difficult to protect. Su Fong's eyes were as cold as ice, and a fierce, murderous aura burst out. The Duanmu divine clan, the Luo clan, the Yi clan, the Qi people, and the Guanghan Emperor, Xuanqin also shuddered at Su Fong's fierce, murderous aura. He advised, "Su Fong, these ancient divine clans and supreme emperors are powerful and powerful. If we fall out with all of them, I'm afraid," Su Fong said domineeringly, "since they dare to reach out to me, they should be prepared to be killed. So what if they are powerful and powerful? In the face of powerful strength, everything will be crushed into powder. This time, I will use a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood to announce to the world that whoever dares to attack Su Fong will have to pay the price." In the past, Su Fong had been bullied and had to endure humiliation. Even when Xuanqin was forced to marry Emperor Yuan and his father was threatened, he could only rely on the Hun Yuan sacred mirror to force the imperial people to back down. They didn't dare to retaliate. Now, he had the strength to surpass the supreme emperors and many divine clans and forces. If anyone dared to stand his way, he would kill them. If anyone dared to reach out to his relatives and friends, not only would he break their claws, but he would also kill them. About 3 days. Wush, Su Fong, and Xuanxin escaped from the void side by side. In front of them was the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Su Fong used his perfect transcendental sensing ability and found that the current Hunyuan Heaven Realm was very different from when he left. In the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, there were many objects floating, and almost every object was overcrowded. QL11, this wasn't surprising. The Tao Defiance Alliance kept attacking the sky canopy, and even this side of the sky canopy had become unsafe. The Hunyuan Heaven Realm had become a refuge, so it wasn't surprising that a large number of deities had rushed here. Su Fong also sensed the sky canopy. The many cultivators, Big Goblin, and the sky canopy had all been moved by Su Fong to the Builder Tree, so the sky canopy's position was empty. However, Su Fong's prestige was there, so who dared to occupy his territory? Later, the Sanskrit sovereign had brought the great world's Yuetian sect to the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, but he had no place to settle down, so he used his divine ability to create a new sky canopy and settled the Yuetian sect's cultivators and Big Goblin inside. Su Fong sensed a familiar aura from the sky canopy, and he felt a lot more at ease. At the same time, he also sensed that the world barrier of the sky canopy was clearly different from the other god realms. The Sanskrit sovereign was worried that the cultivators and Big Goblin from the great world couldn't withstand the natural shackles of the god realm. So he deliberately used his divine ability to create a god realm suitable for the cultivators and Big Goblin from the great world to live in. Sensing this, Su Fong's killing intent towards the Sanskrit faded a lot. Although he had a deep grudge with Sanskrit in the past, Sanskrit had already paid a heavy price, so Su Fong could let Sanskrit go. Then, Su Fong sensed that the sky canopy was deserted, as if it was isolated from the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Su Fong said to Xuanxin, "It seems that the Yuetian sect isn't very well received in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm." But thinking about it, it was normal. The Yuetian sect's cultivators and Big Goblin were the overlords of the great world, but in the god realm, they were no different from ants in front of the experts of the various worlds. Who would care about them? A group of ants from the great world occupied the most superior position in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, and at the same time, made countless people jealous. In addition, Su Fong had offended so many factions. When news of his death spread, it was already good enough that the other factions didn't hit him when he was down. No one dared to deal with the Yuetian sect. Even if Su Fong had fallen, his reputation and fierce reputation from the past still remained. In addition, with Xuanxin's strength and status, and the support of Emperor Sang Xiu, Emperor Yi Dao, Mo Tiangong, Sheng Wuji, and other peerless existences, anyone who had any ideas about the Yuetian sect would have to consider the consequences. Moreover, Su Fong's assassin organization, Soulless, was now the #1 assassin organization in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. Not only did it infiltrate the various major factions, but it even infiltrated the Yuan Tiangong and the ancient god race. If anyone dared to have any ideas about the Yuetian sect, they would have been secretly eliminated by Soulless. No one dared to touch the Yuetian sect, but no one would have any dealings with them either. Being isolated by the Hunyuan Heaven Realm was not a strange thing. Su Fong brought Xuanxin and quietly passed through the blood walls and barriers outside the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, arriving in the sky above the sky canopy. Su Fong sensed the auras of Dao Heng Tian, Mu Xingfeng, and the others. Just as he was about to enter the sky canopy to meet them, he suddenly raised his eyebrows and used his divine might to conceal himself and Xuanxin, who, an old man, leading over 100 people, arrived outside the sky canopy's barrier. To no surprise, the old man was a peak over god. He was only a step away from becoming a sovereign. The clothes and auras of these people revealed their identities. They were Sanskrit from the ancient god world. Su Fong's deep eyes surged with killing intent. Could it be that Sanskrit has not given up and has set their sights on the Yuetian sect? If that's really the case, not only Sanskrit, but even Sanskrit's sovereign realm will not be spared. Some of the factions near the sky canopy discovered that so many experts had arrived outside the sky canopy. Moreover, they were Sanskrit experts who had a grudge against Su Fong and immediately broke out in discussion. What are so many Sanskrit experts doing here in the sky canopy? What are they doing? Su Fong has offended Sanskrit so much in the past. Sanskrit can no longer hold back and is preparing to attack Su Fong. The other factions were watching from afar, waiting for a good show to unfold. Who knew? The leading Sanskrit old man loudly shouted towards the sky canopy. This king is the Sanskrit patriarch, leading Sanskrit to pay respects to Lord Huadong and our friends from the Yuetian sect. Chapter 25:01. Pay a visit. Did I hear wrongly? The clan leader of Sanskrit from the ancient god world is personally leading the higher-ups of Sanskrit to pay a visit to a group of ants from the great world. What kind of status does the clan leader of Sanskrit have? Why would he pay a visit to the cultivators of the great world from the heaven realm? He clearly intends to use peaceful means before resorting to force and kill all of these ants. These ants from the great world really don't know what's good for them. Even gods like us barely have a foothold in the heaven realm, but they occupy the best spot in the heaven realm. They should have been eradicated long ago. Many gods who were watching from afar were also shocked and stunned. However, no one thought that the clan leader of Sanskrit would really come to pay a visit to the cultivators of the heaven realm. What kind of status did the clan leader of Sanskrit have? Even if a venerable emperor saw him, they would not put on airs and would have to treat him politely. What were the cultivators of the heaven realm in the heaven realm? They were just a group of ants. Only Huadong Jun had some strength. However, Su Fong had fallen, and Huadong Jun was just an itinerant cultivator who had not reached the level of an overgod. He was not valued at all. In front of a supreme existence like the clan leader of Sanskrit, the cultivators of the heaven realm were even less than ants. The clan leader of Sanskrit had personally led a group of higher-ups to pay a visit to a group of ants. This was the biggest joke in the world. Not only the gods who were watching, but even Huadong Jun and the others in the heaven realm could not believe it. They did not dare to open the barrier and let the people of Sanskrit enter the heaven realm. Who knew? The clan leader of Sanskrit actually cupped his fists and bowed to the people of the heaven realm. I have indeed come here to pay a sincere visit to all of you. I have no ill intentions. Please don't be suspicious. A moment later, more than 50 gods flew over. It was the clan leader of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan. He had brought Xuanxin's former master and many of the higher-ups of the ancient Divine Phoenix clan to the heaven realm. Lord Patriarch, what's the matter? Even you have to come out personally? The clan leader of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan, a red-haired old man, was surprised to see the people from Sanskrit. The Sanskrit clan leader snorted. Why did the ancient Divine Phoenix clan come to the celestial realm? The clan leader of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan chuckled. I was blind in the past and offended the saint of Su Fong. Now, I'm not qualified to go to the Saint Temple to meet the father and teacher of the saint of Su Fong. I can only come to meet his old friends to make up for the misunderstanding. The Sanskrit patriarch smiled sheepishly. The ancient Divine Phoenix clan's ears are quite sharp. You heard the news so quickly. The leader of the Divine Phoenix ancient clan smiled and said, Same here. Sanskrit is also very well informed. Seeing that the two clan leaders of the deity clan were talking, and both of them had a lot of conflicts with the Su Fong, they came to the heaven world one after the other. They would definitely destroy the heaven world in one fell swoop. Everyone who was watching from afar suddenly became spirited, waiting to see a good show. Swish! Swish! Hundreds of experts came to the heaven realm one after another. Luo clan. The clan leader of the Luo clan is here too. The head of the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce is here too. The force behind the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce is the Qi people. Why are they here too? The Duanmu Divine clan. Heavens, the leader is the #1 alchemy master of the Pill Tower. He's here too. It's over, it's over. The heaven world is completely finished this time. Almost all of the enemies of the Su Fong have come to the heaven world. How can those ants from the great world not be wiped out? The people who were watching from afar were deeply shocked. Not only the forces near the heaven world, but many forces in the Hunyuan heaven world also rushed to the heaven world after hearing the news. The cultivators of the Heaven Crossing sect and the Big Goblin in the heaven world had never seen such a big scene. An ordinary, true, God-realm deity was a supreme existence that the cultivators and great demons from the large worlds had to look up to. All of a sudden, so many supreme gods, domain lords, and peerless sovereigns had arrived. Any one of them could easily annihilate the heaven-crossing sect 10 times over. How could the cultivators and great demons of the heaven-crossing sect not be afraid? Whoosh! An old man at the peak of the ninth heaven of the Tao integration stage, and a middle-aged man in a golden robe flew out of the heaven world through the array formation. Su Fong and Xuanqin were hiding in the sky above the heaven world. When they saw the old man, they couldn't help but nod. It's Lord Huadong. I didn't expect this person to be so loyal. Lord Huadong was an itinerant cultivator that Su Fong had subdued in the heaven-law divine world. He was sent by Su Fong to accompany the sovereign of the Sanskrit to the great world. After returning, he had been living in the heaven world with the people of the Heaven Crossing sect. News of Su Fong's death had long spread. More than 10,000 years had passed, but he was still in the heaven world. QL11. As for the golden-robed middle-aged man, Su Fong raised his eyebrows. This person, that golden-robed middle-aged man, had an imposing appearance. He had a domineering and ferocious aura. He looked like a bandit. This person was really a bandit, the Golden Rainbow Monarch. Su Fong asked Sovereign Unidao to help the Golden Rainbow Monarch recover his physical body. When Su Fong left the Yuan Tiangong and went to the Two-World River to train, the Golden Rainbow Monarch had not recovered yet. Unexpectedly, he was also in the heaven world. Moreover, he was so eye-catching. Su Fong was shocked. Although the Golden Rainbow Monarch had a physical body now, his primordial spirit had been shattered long ago. His physical body was reconstructed with a divine ability. He no longer had the strength of a peerless bandit who could move unhindered in the universe. Right now, he was only at the peak of the true God realm. Although his strength was low, the Golden Rainbow Monarch's domineering aura and ferocious aura were not even comparable to that of a peerless sovereign god. As soon as he flew out of the heaven world, the Golden Rainbow Monarch looked at the experts from various forces with a disdainful gaze. He said domineeringly, "You guys are really bold. You dare to humiliate Su Fong. Have you forgotten how the G people were exterminated in the past?" The Sanskrit patriarch said politely, "My lord, we came here this time." "Humph. Didn't you come here this time to bully others?" Without waiting for the Sanskrit patriarch to finish his words, the Golden Rainbow Monarch interrupted him unceremoniously. Then he sneered and said, "Although Su Fong has fallen, don't forget that his Tao companion is still here. Sovereign Uni Tao, Sovereign Sang Xiao, and the Fire God Zhu clan are all behind the heaven world. If you dare to touch the heaven world, you're looking down on these peerless experts." When Su Fong saw this scene in the sky, he could not help but touch the tip of his nose. He did not expect the Golden Rainbow Monarch to be so eloquent. Xuanqin also smiled. When the Su Fong was mentioned, the Sanskrit patriarch's deep eyes revealed a hint of fear. "My lord, you must have misunderstood. The Sanskrit patriarch came here this time to sincerely pay a visit to all of you. Moreover, we will also present a great gift. We have no intention of making things difficult for the heaven world." Grandmaster Duanmu said majestically, "The Su Fong's holy son has a close relationship with my Duanmu divine clan. Whoever dares to harm the Su Fong's holy son's old friends and subordinates, I will be the first to not let them go. The Duanmu divine clan will also not rest until they are dead." The powerful words made the Golden Rainbow Monarch and Lord Huadong dumbfounded. Even if it was peaceful before resorting to force, there was no need to be so serious, right? More and more gods came from afar to watch the show. The behavior of the Sanskrit patriarch and Grandmaster Duanmu made everyone feel that something was wrong. It made everyone whisper to each other. They could not figure out the purpose of their visit. Something was very wrong. These experts from the various superpowers did not look like they were here to denounce a punitive expedition. Instead, they looked like they were here to express their goodwill. The Golden Rainbow Monarch lowered his voice and asked the Sanskrit patriarch in a low voice, "My lord from the Sanskrit, What do you mean by this? Tell this king everything. If you really want to destroy the heaven world, just say it. You don't have to tease us like this. The Sanskrit patriarch smiled bitterly. He paused for a moment, and his divine light swept across the crowd. He shouted loudly, "Then this patriarch will speak the truth. We just received news from the Sky Beacon God world that the Tao Defiance Alliance has launched a large-scale attack on the heaven screen, causing the world to change again." The seventh blood sun rose into the sky. Even the supreme evil god has descended on the battlefield of the two-realm river and personally torn the heaven screen apart. The Sky Beacon God world was very far away from the Hunyuan heaven world. It had been a few days since the end of the battle. Logically speaking, the news should have reached the Hunyuan heaven world by now. However, due to the changes in the world and the descent of the avatars that had shaken the heaven screen, the world had naturally become even more chaotic. Many of the methods used to transmit news could no longer be used. The gods of the Hunyuan heaven world only knew that the mountain protector had sacrificed himself to stop the eighth blood sun from rising into the sky. After that, the battle broke out. However, they did not know the outcome or the details. The gods of the Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan heaven world were in a constant state of anxiety as they waited for news from the battlefield of the two-realm river. When the Sanskrit patriarch announced the news of the battle of the two-realm river, except for the ancient gods and superpowers who already knew the outcome, everyone's ears perked up. Their hearts were hanging high in their throats. When the Sanskrit patriarch said that Sovereign Haiyuan had betrayed them and led two peerless sovereigns of the Tao Defiance Alliance to attack Shao, wanting from the inside and severely injure him, the heaven screen was about to be breached and the Sky Beacon God world was about to be destroyed, everyone fell into despair. Even the experts of the various superpowers who already knew the outcome were extremely nervous. However, the Sanskrit patriarch suddenly changed the topic. At this critical moment, Su Fang's holy son appeared out of nowhere and killed the peerless expert of the Tao Defiance Alliance, Devil Saint Fu Sha, and severely injured the Devil Race's expert, Devil Saint Emotion. He also killed countless experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance and destroyed the Blood Sun projections repeatedly. He turned the tide and turned the situation around. Wait a minute, Su Fang? Didn't Su Fang die a long time ago? Even if Su Fang is still alive, pierced through the heavens will only have the strength of a lesser sovereign. How could he have possibly killed Devil Sage Fumi? There's also Devil Sage. I heard that Devil Sage is the #1 expert of the fiends beneath the ancestral fiends. How could Su Fang heavily injure Devil Sage? The Sanskrit patriarch must have become senile. He's spouting nonsense. The crowd in the distance discussed animatedly. How could they believe the words of the Sanskrit patriarch? Not to mention the others, even Jin Hong King and Dong Dongjun were dizzy from listening. The way they looked at the Brahmin clan leader became extremely strange, as if they were looking at a monster. The Sanskrit patriarch smiled bitterly and said, "I know you don't believe me. You're not the only ones. When I received the news from my race's peerless supreme sovereign, I couldn't believe it either. However, that's the truth. How can my race's peerless supreme sovereign pass on fake news?" The Divine Phoenix, ancient clan patriarch, said, "What the Sanskrit patriarch said is true. Our Divine Phoenix, ancient clan, also participated in the battle. We just sent a message using the Divine Phoenix, ancient clan's secret technique. The content is exactly the same as what the Sanskrit patriarch said." The Duanmu Divine clan's alchemy master said solemnly, "Yes, the Su Fang saint turned the tide in the battle between the two realms. He turned the situation around and saved the world from danger. The Tao Defiance Alliance has been defeated, and we humans have won a great victory. The imperial people's supreme existences and many supreme sovereigns are already rushing to Yuan Tiangong." How could the crowd not believe it when so many people had confirmed it? The crowd watching from afar instantly fell into a dead silence. After about 10 breaths of time, the crowd burst into cheers. The news quickly spread throughout the Hunyuan heaven realm and caused a huge uproar. Cheers and roars of thunder flooded the Hunyuan heaven realm like waves. Chapter 25:02 The news of Su Fong turning the situation around and saving the myriad of worlds spread out, shaking the myriad of worlds. It was not hard to imagine how amazing the status of Su Fong's subordinates in the Hunyuan Heaven Realm would be in the future. Outside the Heavenly Realm, those who were prepared to watch a good show, and even those who regarded the cultivators of the Heaven Realm as ants, immediately changed their tone and began to praise Su Fong's great achievements. At the same time, they also thought of ways to enter the Heavenly Realm and establish a relationship with the Heaven Realm. The Golden Rainbow King was surrounded by many experts from ancient divine clans and powerful forces. He was like a moon surrounded by stars. The Golden Rainbow King had never enjoyed such treatment before. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. This king knew that Su Fong wouldn't die so easily. Ha ha! This king stayed in the Heavenly Realm. This time, it was the right decision to stay. No, this king is loyal to Su Fong. No, Su Fong was personally guided by this king in the past. That's why he has today's heaven-defying achievements. The Golden Rainbow King was so happy that he became confused. He began to talk incoherently. Seeing the boiling Hunyuan Heaven Realm in the sky, Xuanqin smiled and transmitted his voice. Su Fong, you have now become the strongest person in the myriad of worlds. Your subordinates have risen to the heavens with you, but I'm unlucky to follow you. Su Fong asked in surprise why. Xuanqin said, now, there are countless women who want to throw themselves at you. They even use all kinds of methods to get your favor. Tell me, how can I not be unlucky? Su Fong was speechless. Xuanqin then pursed his lips and smiled. But this is also good. Someone can share some of the burden for me. Su Fong quickly interrupted Xuanqin. Let's go. It's time to enter the Yuan Tiangong to pay respects to Father. They may not know the news of my return. They must still be worried about me. Su Fong used his divine power to envelop himself and Xuanqin. Then he used his ability to transcend heaven and earth and directly entered the inner world of Yuan Tiangong. Traversing through layers upon layers of barriers, Su Fong arrived at the Sanctum of Sages located in the deepest part of Yuan Tiangong. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the entrance of the Sanctum of Sages was also packed with people. Other than the various superpowers, even a powerhouse from the Imperial Empire had arrived at the Sanctum of Sages. QL11 obviously. These people had heard about what had happened on the battlefield of the Two Realms River and had come to pay their respects. No, to be more precise, they had come to curry favor with Su Yaotian, Xianin Tian, and the others. However, the barrier around the Sanctum of Sages had been activated and the doors were tightly shut. Su Fong used the life, shrinking art to sense the aura of fate and penetrated the defenses of the Sanctum of Sages. Sensing that Su Yaotian and the others were inside the Sanctum of Sages, he heaved a long sigh of relief. From within the Sanctum of Sages, Su Yaotian's aged and exhausted voice sounded. Everyone, please don't deceive me with lies. My son, Su Fong, has already fallen. If you want to hit him while he's down, you can just say so. Yet, you use such lies to deceive me. How laughable. Hearing his father's voice, Su Fong couldn't help but feel a sharp pain in his heart. He could imagine the kind of pain and pressure his father had endured over the past 10,000 years. Su Fong grabbed Xuanqin's hand and flew over to the entrance of the Sanctum of Sages. Xuanqin? Isn't she at the battlefield of the Two Realms River? Why is she back in the Yuan Tiangong so quickly? That person is Su Fong. Su Fong is back. When the crowd saw Su Fong's face clearly, they immediately cried out in surprise. Then everyone cupped their fists and bowed. Greetings, Saint Su Fong. Su Fong's cold gaze swept across everyone as he said indifferently, everyone, please go back. I have been cultivating in seclusion for 10,000 years. During this time, I know very well who has been good to my family and who has ulterior motives and even tried to hit me while I'm down. I will repay those who should be repaid, and I will not show mercy to those who should be avenged. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they all trembled. They felt that they were facing a supreme expert who was as powerful as the imperial people. The pressure was as heavy as a mountain. and the strong murderous aura made it difficult for them to breathe. Su Fong had killed countless experts of the Tao-defying alliance, and he had even killed several Thearchs. His murderous aura and pressure were much stronger than ordinary Thearchs, which made it difficult for everyone to adapt. The meaning in Su Fong's words made those ancient divine clan experts who had once threatened Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, and the others, as well as those who had chased after Huang Lingyao and Xuanxin, feel as if they had fallen into an ice cave. Waves of coldness seeped out of their bodies. "Everyone, please go back." Su Fong ordered them to leave without hesitation. Those divine clan experts from various factions had no choice but to leave in embarrassment. After flying out of the square in front of the Saint Temple, a Qi people giant snorted. "He is so arrogant at such a young age. He doesn't even take us, the ancient divine clan experts, or even the supreme imperial people seriously. He is really arrogant," a Luo clan expert added. "If it weren't for the imperial people and the ancient divine clan experts, how could he save all the worlds by himself? He is already so arrogant now. Won't he ride on our heads in the future? The myriad worlds in the universe belong to the emperors, as well as us, the ancient god realms god clans. A mere lesser chief god has no right to be so arrogant." A E-clan senior said angrily. "We came here with good intentions, but he gave us the cold shoulder. This is outrageous." Someone advised, "Everyone, please keep your voices down. If Su Fong's saint hears you, I'm afraid it will bring unnecessary trouble to your families." The Qi people giant snorted. "So what if Su Fong hears us? He may be at the peak of his power now, but it won't be long before he knows who the true supreme ruler of the worlds is. He killed our genius Qi Mian in the 9th underworld and stole our clan's supreme treasure, the illusory, south-breaking compass chariot. Our supreme sovereign will definitely settle this score with him. With Su Fong's current strength and his perfect transcendental sensory ability, he naturally heard the conversation between these giants clearly." Su Fong's eyes became sharp. "It seems that these ancient divine clans, who are usually high and mighty, still treat me, Su Fong, as an ant. They really think I don't dare to kill." He couldn't be bothered to pay attention to these people for the time being. He took Xuanxin through the barrier and entered the Temple of Sages. In the main hall of the Temple of Sages, Su Yaotian, Xian Yintian, Xian Lingzi, Shu Yunkong, and the other seniors of Su Fong, as well as Li Haojia, the Lord of Five Poisons, Li Ziqing, and the other friends and subordinates in the Great World and the various worlds, all gathered together. Everyone's expression was solemn, and the atmosphere in the hall was oppressive. Xian Lingzi broke the silence. "Nephew Yaotian, the strong cultivators of the various Shun clans said that Su Fong appeared and turned the tide. This may be true. You probably don't know, but your son is extraordinary." Su Yaotian shook his head and said, "Senior Xian Lingzi, how credible do you think those words are? Even if Fong really died and came back to life, how could he have the strength to kill a demon saint expert?" Xian Lingzi also shook his head and smiled bitterly. If Su Fong had died and came back to life, he might have believed it. But if Su Fong suddenly had the strength to kill a venerable sovereign expert, he would never believe it. That was a venerable sovereign, a top expert in the various worlds. Not to mention killing a venerable sovereign, he wouldn't even dare to have any thoughts of disrespecting a venerable sovereign. Zhang Run suddenly said, "Su Fong is definitely not an ordinary person. It's not impossible that he can do this." Li Haojia, the Lord of Five Poisons, and the others also nodded. Su Yaotian said, "Fong died, and Xuanxin went to the battlefield of the Two Realms River. At this time, the Two Realms River is at war. Those ancient divine clans suddenly came here. I'm afraid they have other plans. We have to be careful. Let's wait for Xuanxin to come back first." At this time, Su Fong and Xuanxin passed through the array and appeared in the main hall. "Father, don't you trust your son that much?" Su Fong looked at his father, Su Yaotian, with a gloomy face. Xuanxin, on the other hand, was full of smiles. In an instant, the whole hall was shocked. Surprise and shock. Surprise and joy. When everyone calmed down, Su Fong slowly told everyone about his experience in the past 10,000 years. Everyone was shaken to the core as they listened. "Father, I want to invite you to meet someone." Su Fong took out the Dark Valley origin pearl and moved his grandfather's soul out of it. Su Yaodian, who had just calmed down, was instantly stunned. He said in a trembling voice, "Father, it's you?" Immediately, he knelt on the ground and kowtowed repeatedly. "Father, your son is unfilial." This scene moved everyone, and hot tears flowed down their faces. Su Fong was also overwhelmed with emotions. "I finally reached the peak with my own strength, step by step, and completely changed my fate. At the same time, I also changed the fate of my family and friends." What was the point of cultivating so hard? Other than the ability to control one's own fate, it was also to protect one's family. At this time, Su Fong had overcome all obstacles and dangers with his own efforts and finally stood at the peak of the myriad of worlds. Now that he was reunited with his family, one could imagine the joy in Su Fong's heart. Next, Su Fong stayed in the Saint Temple and no longer cultivated. He mainly stayed with his father, other family members, and friends. His grandfather's soul continued to be placed in the Dark Valley origin pearl. When Emperor Sangxiu and Emperor Yi Dao returned from the Sky Beacon God world, he would ask them to help his grandfather reconstruct his physical body. In fact, with Su Fong's current strength, it was not difficult for him to reconstruct his grandfather's physical body. However, this was a matter of great importance, and no mistakes could be made. After all, Su Fong was not an emperor yet, so he had to be careful. When they heard that Su Fong had returned to Yuan Tiangong, the emperors left behind in Yuan Tiangong, as well as the ancient god clans and super forces ancestors of powerhouses, all came to visit. Except for Mo Tiangong, Sheng Wuji, and other people with whom he had a deep friendship, Su Fong did not meet them. Although the powerhouses of the various forces did not meet Su Fong, they still brought gifts. Su Fong accepted all of them with a smile. In a short period of time, Su Fong made another fortune. Although it was not as good as the resources he had plundered in the Divine Pivot Hall, it was not far off. During this time, Su Fong also went to the Square Heaven World and the Hunyuan Heaven World and met with the people of the Heaven Crossing sect, including Dao Hengtian, Mu Xingfeng, and other old friends. When Su Fong appeared in the Hunyuan Heaven World, it caused a huge commotion. Tens of thousands of people bowed down in worship. The scene was extremely shocking. About 50 years later, the supreme existence of the imperial people had finished dealing with the aftermath of the Sky Beacon God world and returned with many emperors and powerhouses from Yuan Tiangong. Emperor Sangxiu and Emperor Yi Dao also returned to Yuan Tiangong. Chapter 2503. This matter concerned Su Fong's most important kin. So how could Emperor Sangxiu, Emperor Yi Dao, and Sheng Wuji be careless? The Sanctum of Sages had been closed for 100 years, and the three experts had also studied it in seclusion for 100 years. After much deliberation, deduction, and verification, they finally came to a conclusion. Emperor Sangxiu turned to Su Fong and said, "Holy son Su Fong, this emperor, Emperor Yi Dao, and Sheng Wuji believe that it's not suitable for your grandfather to reconstruct his physical body." Su Fong's heart sank. He hurriedly asked why. The Golden Rainbow King's Yuan spirit, which had turned into the World Spirit, was still able to reconstruct his physical body. His grandfather's soul was perfectly fine, and after being nourished by the soul marrow elixir, it was 100 times stronger than an ordinary person. So, why was he unable to reconstruct his physical body? Sheng Wuji smiled and said, "Brat Su Fong, look at how anxious you are. Lord Sangxiu didn't say that there was no way." With Su Fong's current status among the Yuan Tiangong, only Sheng Wuji and Mo Tiangong dared to address him as such. Even Emperor Sangxiu and Emperor Yi Dao addressed Su Fong as Holy Son very politely. Su Fong said, "Lord Sangxiu, please enlighten me." Emperor Sangxiu said slowly, "If you only wish to reconstruct your grandfather's physical body and disregard everything else, it's very simple. Sheng Wuji can do it. However, if you do that, your grandfather's lifespan won't be much longer. Why? Your grandfather is still immortal. Even though you nourished him with the soul marrow elixir and made him incomparably powerful, it's not something he cultivated himself. Fundamentally speaking, his soul is still that of a mortal. After reconstructing his physical body, even if you use a spirit treasure to make his physical body indestructible, his soul will still perish sooner or later. So that's how it is. Su Fong was enlightened. It seemed like he had been too naive in the past. Emperor Yi Dao continued. The three of us pondered for a long time, and in the end, we came up with a solution. That is to let your grandfather reincarnate as a god and cultivate from the beginning. With Su Fong's current status and strength, as well as the resources in his hands, even if he were to pile them up, he would still be able to turn your grandfather into a powerhouse. Strength is not important. What's important is that he has endless life. Su Fong slapped his head. Why didn't I think of that? Infinite Life said, this method is naturally the best. The only problem is that the 9 underworlds reincarnation cycle is now broken. Whether or not your grandfather can be reincarnated, and where he will be reincarnated to, is something that even a supreme sovereign can't control. If he reincarnates into the divine realm controlled by the Tao Defiance Alliance, or he might reincarnate into a demon or devil, the consequences would be unimaginable. Su Fong chuckled. You don't have to worry about that. The one in charge of the Netherworld Samsara is a slave under my command. Not only can he ensure that my grandfather's soul reincarnates smoothly to any realm of the gods that I designate, he can also ensure that his soul remains intact. Su Fong was naturally referring to Underworld Judge Go Li. Before leaving the 9 underworlds, Su Fong killed Yi Mei, who occupied the Yin-Yang Heavenly Wheel, and handed it over to Go Li to control. Naturally, Go Li became the master of the Heavenly Wheel, who controlled the reincarnation cycle. The powerhouse who controlled the reincarnation cycle in the Netherworld is your slave. The 2 supreme sovereigns, Sang Qiu and Tao Solitude, as well as Infinite Life, looked at Su Fong with shock in their eyes. Since ancient times, reincarnation was the most illusory and extremely difficult to control. Even a supreme sovereign could not control the reincarnation cycle of life and death. Now that the 9 underworlds was broken and the reincarnation cycle was severed, it was even harder to control the reincarnation cycle of life and death. The powerhouse who controlled the reincarnation cycle of life and death was Su Fong's slave. How could they not be shocked? Tao Solitude sighed. It seems that Holy Son Su Fong's trip to the 9 underworlds was fruitful. Even the powerhouse who controlled the reincarnation cycle of life and death was subdued by you. Sang Qiu nodded. Su Fong's Holy Son's talent and luck are unparalleled in the 10,000 worlds. Even this emperor has to admit defeat. Su Fong chuckled and did not explain anything. It seems that I have to make a trip back to the 9 underworlds. Su Fong made a decision in his heart. His grandfather's matter had finally come to an end, and the boulder in his heart had finally been lifted. His mood became extremely relaxed. Next, Sang Qiu and Tao Solitude glanced at Su Fong at the same time and then hesitated for a moment. They wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. They looked like they were in a difficult position. Su Fong said in surprise, Lord Sang Qiu and Lord Tao Solitude, if you have something to say, please say it. With our relationship, what can't we say? Tao Solitude smiled embarrassedly. Sang Qiu, you go first. Sang Qiu said, then this emperor will not hide anything. In the past, Sanskrit had offended Su Fong's holy son. Therefore, Sang Qiu asked this emperor to ask for a favor from Su Fong's holy son, and to ask Holy Son to let Sanskrit go. Sang Qiu asked for a favor from Sanskrit's Holy Son? Su Fong was stunned. Sang Qiu and Sanskrit Holy Son did not have a good relationship. Everyone in Yuan Tiangong knew about it. Now that Brahma monarch was thick-skinned enough to ask Sang Qiu to ask for a favor, they must have paid a great price. What kind of person was Sang Qiu? He could tell that Sanskrit had not done anything out of line against Su Fong all these years, so there was still room for negotiation. That was why he asked for a favor from Su Fong. Otherwise, even if it was a great benefit, he would not ask for a favor. Su Fong did not plan to continue taking revenge on Sanskrit. Since Sang Chiu personally asked, he naturally agreed. How can Su Fong not accept Lord Sang Chiu's favor? As long as Sanskrit does not target me in the future, Su Fong will not make things difficult for Sanskrit. Sang Chiu was overjoyed. Thank you, Holy Son Su Fong. Su Fong looked at Dao Solitude. Lord Dao Solitude, are you also asked for a favor from someone? No. Dao Solitude shook his head and said, this emperor wants to shamelessly ask Su Fong's holy son for a kind of treasure. Su Fong pondered for a moment and understood what Dao Solitude wanted. Could Lord Dao Solitude be talking about the soul marrow milk? The most difficult part of a cultivator's cultivation was the primordial spirit. At the level of a venerable sovereign, it was extremely difficult to increase the power of one's primordial spirit by even a sliver. The soul marrow milk nourished the primordial spirit and had an effect that no primordial spirit items or magic treasures could compare to. However, this thing only existed in legends. Not to mention ordinary deities, even peerless venerable sovereigns would have a hard time seeing it. Su Fong used the soul marrow milk to nourish his grandfather's soul. Dao Solitude naturally knew that Su Fong had this supreme treasure, so he shamelessly asked Su Fong for it. Soul marrow milk. Sang Chiu and Sheng Wuji's eyes instantly lit up. Which cultivator would not scramble for something like the soul marrow milk? When Dao Solitude saw Sang Chiu and Sheng Wuji's expressions, he could not help but regret bringing up the matter of the soul marrow milk. If they also asked for it, wouldn't Su Fong be in a difficult position? Su Fong asked, Lord Dao Solitude, how much soul marrow milk do you need? Dao Solitude replied, this emperor will be satisfied with 10 drops of the diluted soul marrow milk that you use to nourish your grandfather's soul. Su Fong pondered for a moment and replied, that diluted soul marrow milk is no longer of much use to Lord Dao Solitude. I will give each of you 5 drops of pure soul marrow milk as a form of repayment for the care you have taken for me and your loved ones over the years. 3 drops of pure soul marrow milk, after diluted, amounted to over 100 drops, far exceeding Dao Solitude's expectations. Sang Chiu and Sheng Wuji naturally coveted the soul marrow milk. Since Dao Solitude had asked, they could not ask for more. Unexpectedly, Su Fong directly gave them 3 drops. This time, Dao Solitude, Sang Chiu, and Sheng Wuji were pleasantly surprised. It was a pleasant surprise. After distributing the soul marrow milk to the 3 of them, the 3 of them were filled with joy and emotion. Back when Su Fong was still very weak, they had inadvertently planted a seed of good karma. Now, they had reaped such good karma. Su Fong also left a share for Mo Tiangong. After Su Fong ascended to the God realm, he had the best relationship with Mo Tiangong among the peerless experts. Now that there were benefits, he naturally would not leave him out. At the same time, Su Fong also prepared to give Mo Tiangong some of the secret techniques and hand seals he had obtained from killing Heavenly Fire Divine Lord. Just as he was about to leave, Sang Chiu suddenly recalled something and reminded Su Fong, Holy Son Su Fong, there is something you must pay attention to. What is it? The Qi people, the Luo clan, and the Yi clan seem to be secretly forming an alliance to prevent you from taking revenge on them. Truyang Sovereign is also very close to these 3 divine clans. As for the imperial people, you should be very clear about the imperial people's attitude. Su Fong sneered, the Qi people, the Luo clan, and the Yi clan. I haven't settled the score with them yet, but they actually plan to join forces to deal with me. Do they really think that I, Su Fong, only dare to kill the sovereigns of the Tao-defying alliance, and not the human sovereigns? And that inexplicable Truyang sovereign, he actually joined forces with them. He's acting recklessly. At this moment, Su Fong's overlord aura was fully displayed. The sharp killing intent and supreme dominance made Sang Chiu, Dao Solitude, and Sheng Wuji's heart skip a beat. At this moment, Su Fong had killed peerless experts who surpassed ordinary sovereigns. His killing intent could change the color of heaven and earth, and even sovereigns were shocked. And those imperial people, QL11, Su Fong sneered again. Su Fong was now famous in the myriad of worlds and was regarded as the savior of the myriad of worlds. At the same time, he entered the exalted celestial mountain, and the hope of saving the myriad of worlds all fell on him. In terms of fame and reputation, perhaps even the supreme existences of the imperial people couldn't compare to Su Fong. Moreover, there was a powerful existence hidden in Su Fong's body that could kill a transcendent-level expert. Even the supreme imperial people couldn't touch such a person, so it was normal for the imperial people to be wary of Su Fong. The imperial people were naturally happy to see Su Fong in conflict with those ancient divine clans. They couldn't wait for Su Fong to offend all the forces in the myriad of worlds. That way, they wouldn't be able to threaten the imperial people's position. Thank you for your reminder, Lord Sangqiu. Su Fong knows what to do. Chapter 2504. He wasn't in a hurry to go to the Nine Netherland and let his grandfather's soul reincarnate. His grandfather's soul had to be reunited with his father for a few more days before he reincarnated. Su Fong wasn't in a hurry to take revenge on the divine clans who had hunted down Huang Lingyao and Xuanxin. Those venerable sovereigns and ancient divine clans could run away, but the temple couldn't. Su Fong's resurrection this time made him deeply aware of the value of family affection. Therefore, he decided to spend some time in Yuan Tiangong to accompany his father, Xuanxin, and other family members, and to enjoy family affection. Luo, Qingyu, and Bai Ling were also arranged by Su Fong to cultivate in the sanctum of sages. Luo had received the fruit of sin from Su Fong, and after assimilating it, he was confident that he would be able to surpass Senior Azura in the future. Heavens? Dropout? Rong Yi's tomb is full of neon and suffocating, flattening the worms, and apologizing? Pomelo, stop. Why do you want to steal from me? Alliance? The choice of Lucia and Grey as for those subordinates in the moving world. Su Fong moved them all into the builder tree. Among them, he selected some powerful masters and had them enter Primordius Heavenly Palace's Yellow Realm Dao right to cultivate. With the help of Primordius Heavenly Palace's resources, they could cultivate their own influence. Last time, if the assassin organization Soulless hadn't known in advance that Huang Lingyao was being hunted down and informed Xuanxin, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Therefore, Su Fong paid more attention to Soulless and invested a lot of resources into it. His second primordial spirit also took action personally, allowing Soulless to develop rapidly in a short period of time. As for the Skysource sect, Su Fong didn't touch them for the time being. After all, they were immortals from the great world and couldn't withstand the shackles of the inner world of the Builder Tree. However, Su Fong also gave them a lot of God-tier resources to help them break through to the God tier as soon as possible. Of course, only a very small number of transcending heaven sect subordinates from the outside world would be able to advance to the deity realm. Most of them would remain immortals for the rest of their lives. Everyone's talent, fortune, and destiny were predestined. Su Fong could not change everyone's destiny. QL11 during this period of time, the number of venerable sovereigns who visited Su Fong was like a school of carps crossing the river. Except for the Qi people, the Luo clan, the Yi clan, and other venerable sovereigns who had a grudge against Su Fong, almost all the other venerable sovereigns came in person. Even the supreme existences of the imperial empire had come to the sanctum of sages to converse with Su Fong for 3 days straight. Although Su Fong's cultivation base was only at lower rank lord level, he had become the most powerful person in the Yuan Tiangong, second only to the supreme beings of the imperial people. He had surpassed all the venerable sovereigns. Su Fong couldn't bear to be disturbed by so many experts coming to visit. As a result, Su Fong would often bring Xuanxin out of the sanctum of sages to stroll around the Yuan Tiangong. On this day, Su Fong and Xuanxin came to the imperial city of the Yuan Tiangong. The Yuan Tiangong was a shrunken universe. Other than the four realms of heaven, earth, black, and yellow that specialized in cultivating geniuses, there was an even wider space that was occupied by the various celestial clans, forces, and the forces of the venerable sovereigns, forming the various celestial realms. The imperial city was the imperial city of the celestial realms occupied by the imperial people. At the same time, it was also the most prosperous city in the Yuan Tiangong. Su Fong and Xuanxin changed their appearances and suppressed their cultivation base to the level of venerable sovereigns. They came to the barrier outside the imperial city. Su Fong and Xuanxin were interrogated by the experts of the imperial people. After paying a large sum of pills, they were allowed to enter the imperial city. As expected of the city where the number one celestial clan lived. What appeared in front of Su Fong and Xuanxin were endless palaces and buildings that bloomed with dazzling divine light and exuded supreme dominance. When they came to the streets of the border city, Su Fong and Xuanxin saw what true prosperity was and what the flourishing cultivation civilization of the celestial realm was like. Su Fong and Xuanxin were completely relaxed. They strolled around casually and enjoyed this rare leisure time. Unknowingly, they came to the central area of the imperial city and were blocked by a powerful barrier. It turned out that they had come to the area where the core members of the imperial people lived. It was difficult for ordinary people to enter. Su Fong noticed that there were many celestial clans outside the barrier. They were pointing at the inside of the barrier. From time to time, young geniuses flew over and were taken into the barrier by the experts of the imperial people in white robes. Su Fong's great perfection hearing ability allowed him to hear the discussion among the celestial clans clearly. It turned out that the important figure of the imperial people, the Dixuan, was holding a banquet today to entertain the geniuses of the various celestial clans and superforces. The peerless geniuses who had received the Dixuan's invitation were naturally very proud and arrogant. Dixuan? A banquet to entertain the geniuses? Su Fong was stunned. Then he laughed. Dixuan still owes me a drink. He hasn't invited me yet, but he's holding a banquet to entertain the other geniuses. He's not giving me face at all. Xuanxin laughed. You are now a top figure in the Yuan Tiangong. If you're invited to a banquet, who would dare to drink? That's true. Su Fong touched the tip of his nose. But Dixuan still owes me a drink. No matter what, I have to honor it. Xuanxin smiled. Anyway, I have nothing to do. Gathering with the geniuses of the universe is also a way to relax. Su Fong, you've never brought me to a banquet like this before. Seeing that Xuanxin was in high spirits, Su Fong decided to bring her to the banquet. Suddenly, a man's voice sounded. Miss, are you planning to attend the Lord Dixuan's banquet? You can't enter without an invitation. If you don't mind, how about this young master bring you in? It turned out to be a young man who was about to enter the barrier. He invited Xuanxin. This young man was very handsome. He wore a long blue robe and exuded an aura of wealth. There was a jade pendant hanging from his waist. It was a half-creation divine tool with strong defensive power. The young man's cultivation base was also very extraordinary. He had the strength of the seventh heavenly stage of the Tao integration stage. He was obviously an extraordinary genius from a powerful force. This person looked down at Xuanxin with undisguised greed in his eyes. Although Xuanxin was wearing a white jade mask, and her cultivation base was only at the divine venerable realm, her cold and holy temperament and beautiful figure could not be concealed. It was no wonder that she attracted the young man's attention. As for Su Fong, who was beside Xuanxin, the handsome genius did not take him seriously at all. Su Fong was an extremely ordinary-looking young man in his 20s. He wore ordinary clothes, and his cultivation base was not bad. However, although the divine venerable realm cultivation base was extraordinary in the universe, why would the young man in blue take him seriously? Sensing the young man's gaze, Xuanxin felt a wave of hatred in her heart. She said coldly, "No need." The young man did not mind Xuanxin's cold attitude. He smiled and said, "Miss, if you know my identity, you might change your mind." After a pause, the young man said proudly, "My surname is Qi. I'm from the supreme Qi people of the ancient god world. I'm the young master of Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. The head of Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce is my grandfather, so this person was from the Qi people. Although the Qi people were not the best among the god clans, they were the wealthiest. Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce was the property of the Qi people. This showed how rich the Qi people were. This young man was also the grandson of the head of Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. His identity was indeed very impressive. Xuanqin's tone became colder. Sorry, someone will bring me to the banquet. I won't bother you, Prince Qi. You mean him? Prince Qi glanced at Su Fang. Then he smiled disdainfully. Do you think this kind of trash is qualified to enter the Lord Dishuan's banquet? Miss, I think you're like a flower stuck in a pile of cow dung. If you follow me from now on, I promise you. Xuanqin sensed that Su Fang's eyes suddenly turned cold. He was afraid that Su Fang would kill him. There was nothing else to worry about. He was just afraid that Su Fang would kill him in a rage and ruin his mood. He hurriedly said to Prince Qi, Prince Qi, you'd better leave quickly. Don't make a mistake. At this time, a few more geniuses came over and greeted Prince Qi. Young Master Qi pointed at Su Fang, and a beam of profound light invisible to the naked eye landed on Su Fang's body. Then, young Master Qi left in embarrassment and entered the barrier together with Su Fang. You're courting death. Su Fang's eyes surged with a fierce aura. It turned out that Prince Qi had used his divine essence to form a secret mark and left it on Su Fang's body when he raised his hand just now. This person's intention couldn't be more obvious. The purpose of leaving a secret mark on Su Fang was naturally to harm Su Fang. That guy offended young Master Qi Taijia. He's dead meat. Who told him to show off with a beautiful woman? It's his bad luck to meet Prince Qi. Not only did he lose his woman, but he also lost his life. It seems that his woman can't be too beautiful. Otherwise, it will bring him a fatal disaster. Beauty is a disaster. Not far away, the immortals who had stopped to watch saw what had just happened and immediately began to talk about it. They looked at Su Fang as if he was a dead man. Xuanqin said, Su Fang, let's go. Don't ruin our mood because of this madman. Although Prince Qi was extraordinary, Su Fang didn't take him seriously with his current status and strength. When he wanted the Qi people to collect the debt, he could just kill him. Putting Prince Qi's matter to the back of his mind, Su Fang took Xuanqin to an empty area of the barrier and prepared to directly pass through the barrier. Su Fang suddenly raised his eyebrows and sneered. Some people are so eager to die. They're all dead meat. 3 immortals flew toward them. There was no need to guess. These 3 people were sent by Prince Qi. Su Fang had the aura of the secret mark left by Prince Qi on him. He didn't erase it, so it wouldn't be difficult for Prince Qi's subordinates to find them. These 3 people were also very powerful. They were all Dao integration experts. One of them was an old man who had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the Dao integration realm. Su Fang and Xuanqin's strength were only at the divine venerable realm. Prince Qi had already given them a lot of face by sending 3 Dao integration experts. The 3 people blocked Su Fang and Xuanqin from different directions. The old man who was at the peak of the Dao integration realm said indifferently, kill the man and take the woman away. One of the Dao integration experts sneered at Su Fang. Boy, you're out of luck this time. Prince Qi has taken a fancy to your woman. You can only die now. After saying that, this person grabbed at the air and a divine power enveloped Su Fang. He intended to crush Su Fang directly. Humph. Chapter 25:05. Qi, Qi, Qi. Su Fang unleashed the 9 yang divine fire with the illusory fire cloud, the eye of heaven, and it instantly enveloped the expert who attacked. As soon as the fire fell on the expert, he immediately burned and quickly turned into ashes. With Su Fang's current strength and the overbearing power of the 9 yang divine fire, killing a Dao integration expert was easier than slaughtering a chicken. A king of gods. Oh no, run. The other Dao integration expert turned pale with fright and was about to turn and run. Su Fang flicked his finger in the air and a sword Qi shot out, penetrating the expert's head. His head was immediately shattered, and even his yang spirit couldn't escape. He died on the spot. The remaining Tao integration pinnacle stage old man was much calmer. He also knew that it was almost impossible to escape from a peerless king of gods, so he simply stayed where he was. The old man said domineeringly, "I don't care which power you are from, but the dignity of the Qi clan is not something a master god like you can offend. Let this old man leave, and this old man will pretend that nothing happened today." Su Fong sneered disdainfully. "You're just an ant. How dare you threaten me with the Qi people? Not to mention you, I'll even kill Prince Qi and the Qi people's Dizun. I'll even uproot the Qi people." The old man laughed. "How arrogant! You overestimate yourself." Su Fong didn't waste any time. He reached out and grabbed in the air. A devouring power suddenly descended and enveloped the old man. Qi, Qi, Qi. The old man's blood Qi, primordial spirit, and divine essence gushed out crazily from his body. In less than 10 seconds, they were completely devoured by Su Fong's azure blood dome. The old man was also reduced to ashes. "Let's go." Su Fong killed 3 Dao integration experts as easily as crushing 3 ants. Then, he used the divine power of the world of yin and yang to envelop Xuanxin. He directly passed through the enchantment and entered the core area of the imperial people. As soon as he appeared, Su Fongda's perfect ability immediately covered all directions and sensed the location of the banquet. Then, with a flash of his body, he took Xuanxin and flew away. In the middle of a huge forest garden, there were pavilions, small bridges overflowing water, all kinds of verdant divine trees, rare flowers and plants in full bloom, and auspicious beasts roamed about in the forest. What a beautiful scenery! The banquet hadn't officially started yet. Many well-dressed and good-looking geniuses and beauties were chatting in groups of 2s and 3s. Seeing such a beautiful scenery, Su Fong and Xuanxin were in a good mood. They walked hand in hand in the garden. He came to an empty pavilion and sat down. In the pavilion, strange spiritual fruits and fine wine that was rarely seen in the universe were placed on the stone table. Su Fong and Xuanxin tasted the spiritual fruits while admiring the beautiful scenery outside the pavilion. Suddenly, a group of geniuses and elites surrounded a young man and came to the pavilion. This person was wearing a fiery red robe with a divine sun pattern intertwined with divine runes on it. His body exuded a kind of sharpness and loftiness that only a peerless figure could have. His every movement carried an aura that looked down on the world. Prince Qi was also among the young geniuses. He looked like this person's follower. When he saw Su Fong and Xuanxin, he immediately showed an expression of disbelief. He secretly cursed his subordinates for being so useless that they couldn't even catch 2 divine venerable ants. Seeing Su Fong and Xuanxin, a young genius shouted coldly at them, "Young master Yi Tianyang is here. Why aren't you 2 leaving?" Yi Tianyang? Su Fong seemed to have some impression of him, but it wasn't deep. He seemed to be a newly emerged, peerless genius. At this time, Su Fong only cared about the venerable sovereigns. No matter how dazzling the younger geniuses were, they were all ignored by him. Hearing the young genius's angry rebuke, Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Xuanxin held his hand and said, "Let's go for a walk in the forest." Su Fong and Xuanxin walked side by side out of the pavilion. Yi Tianyang's eyes suddenly lit up when he saw Xuanxin. He immediately said, "May I know your name, young lady? Would you like to stay and have a drink with me?" Someone immediately brought a glass of wine and placed it in front of Xuanxin. Xuanxin's face under the mask showed a helpless smile. It seemed that trouble had come to him again. Su Fong stood in front of Xuanxin and said coldly, "My cultivation partner doesn't drink, let alone accept a stranger's toast." "That's a pity." Yi Tianyang smiled lightly and left with the group of young geniuses. Prince Qi and a white-robed genius from the imperial people stayed. Young Master Qi said coldly, "The 2 of you are quite bold. You actually dare to sneak into Lord Dixian's banquet and dare to be so rude in front of young Master Yi Tianyang. Prince Dixiu, how do you think we should deal with them?" The young man from the Monarch clan by the name of Di Su was a genius nurtured by the Monarch clan after Di Yuan's death. Although he was not as good as Di Yuan and was far inferior to Dixian back then, he was still an extraordinary genius. The imperial people invited the young geniuses from the major forces to strengthen their relationship with them and stabilize their power. Tianyang had become famous in recent years and was an important figure that Dishu wanted to make friends with. Seeing that Tianyang was obviously unhappy, Dishu was also angry. He asked Su Fong and Xuanxin, "Take out your invitations and let me see them." Su Fong said indifferently, "I'm Dishuan's friend, so I came without an invitation. Naturally, I don't have an invitation. Since the imperial people don't welcome us, we'll just leave." Su Fong originally planned to drink with Dishuan, but he didn't expect to encounter such unlucky events. He was no longer in a mood and was about to leave with Xuanxin. Lord Dishuan's friend? How arrogant. I don't know where these two scoundrels came from, but they dare to call themselves Lord Dishuan's friends? Prince Qi sneered. "Do you think the imperial people are a place where you can come and go as you please?" Guards! Two imperial people masters immediately came to the pavilion. They cupped their fists and said, "Prince Dishu, Prince Qi, what are your orders?" Both of them were middle-rank lords, but they were treated as guards by the imperial people. It was clear how terrifying the imperial people's overall ability was. Prince Qi pointed at Su Fong and Xuanxin. These two trespassed into the imperial people and pretended to be Lord Dishuan's friends. Shackle them and interrogate them severely. The commotion attracted the attention of many people nearby, and they all came over. I don't know where these two bumpkins came from, but they didn't even give face to Sir Tianyang. Are they looking for death? They probably sneaked in from other god realms. It looks like the Yuan Tiangong needs to be reorganized. Anyone can sneak into the imperial people. Those who were able to attend this banquet were elites from various organizations and ancient protoss. Most of them were peerless geniuses from the Yuan Tiangong. After understanding what had happened here, these geniuses laughed and watched the show. Their eyes were full of mockery and ridicule as they looked at Su Fong and Xuanxin as if they were looking at two monkeys. The two imperial people masters looked at Dishu. "Prince Dishu, how should we deal with them?" Dishu waved his hand. "The imperial people have always been magnanimous. There's no need to shackle them and interrogate them. Let that woman drink that glass of wine and chase her out." One of the imperial people powerhouses grabbed a glass of wine from the stone table in the pavilion. He covered it with xianguang and brought it to Xuanxin. "Drink this glass of wine and let's go." Prince Qi suddenly said, "Wait." The crowd did not understand, but they felt that it was impressive. Prince Qi sneered domineeringly. He opened his mouth and spat a mouthful of phlegm into the wine glass. Then he proudly said, "Who do you think young noble Tianyang is? Even Su Fong, who is praised to the heavens, isn't worthy of carrying his shoes. How can you offend young noble Tianyang so easily? Drink this glass of wine and crawl out of the imperial city." Dishu raised his eyebrows. He was obviously dissatisfied with Prince Qi's behavior, but he didn't say anything. QL11, the other young elites, all looked at Su Fong and Xuanxin as if they were watching a joke. Su Fong looked at Prince Qi and said coldly, "Qi people's clown, drink this glass of wine and I'll spare your life." Xuanxin sighed softly and returned to the pavilion to sit down calmly. There was a burst of laughter in the pavilion as if they had heard the funniest joke in the world. Prince Qi pointed at Su Fong angrily. "Boy, say that again. Believe it or not, I'll tear off your tongue right now." Swoosh! A xianguang flashed. Prince Qi's tongue was cut off by the xianguang. His arrogant voice immediately stopped, and then he screamed miserably. Su Fong then grabbed Prince Qi in the air and pulled him in front of him. Another burst of divine power erupted and rolled up Prince Qi's dantian, shattering his spiritual abode. "Stop! You're courting death." The two king gods of the imperial people shouted angrily and rushed towards Su Fong. Su Fong waved his sleeves, and the divine power of the Yin-Yang world erupted, sending the two flying. They spat out blood and immediately fell into a state of serious injury. This person is actually an expert who pretends to be weak. Injuring two king gods with a wave of his hand made all the geniuses gasp. The mockery and ridicule in their eyes when they looked at Su Fong instantly disappeared. Instead, their faces were filled with shock and fear. They all retreated out of the pavilion as if they had seen a monster. Prince Chi's tongue was cut off by Su Fong, and his spiritual abode was destroyed. He lay on the ground screaming, but no one dared to come forward to save him. Su Fong sat down beside Xuanxin, picked up a wine cup, and drank it in one gulp. Only now did Dishu know that Su Fong was a peerless expert. However, he did not panic at all. He cupped his fists at Su Fong and said, "May I know where the senior is from? May I know your name? Why have you come to the imperial people?" Su Fong said indifferently, "Let Dishuan come. You have no right to talk to me." "How dare you? This is the imperial people. Prince Dishu is a peerless genius of the imperial people. How dare you be so arrogant? How dare you be so arrogant in the imperial people's territory? Even a venerable sovereign expert would find it difficult to escape today. Let's see how arrogant he can be when the experts of the imperial people arrive. How dare you pretend to be weak in front of the imperial people? Even if you're a real tiger, I will turn you into a pig." Chapter 2506. The commotion here had alerted everyone in the garden. All the young elites who had participated in the meeting had rushed over. After learning about what had happened, everyone found it inconceivable. Someone actually dared to cause trouble in the place where the core members of the imperial people lived. This was something that had never happened before. Dishu suppressed his anger and continued to ask, "In the Yuan Tiangong, apart from a few venerable sovereigns, there are very few people who even I am not qualified to speak to. Tell me where you are from, or don't blame the imperial people for being merciless today." Su Fong shook his head and said, "If I say you are not qualified, then you are not qualified. If you say another word, you will learn from the mistakes of the Qi people's trash. I wonder if I, Yi Tianyang, am qualified to speak to this expert?" Yi Tianyang strode over with the aura of a ruler and said domineeringly, "With young master Yi Tianyang here, there is no need for the imperial people's experts to act. This person can only be captured without a fight. Maybe this person is crazy. How dare he cause trouble in the imperial people? Isn't he courting death? What kind of identity and strength does young master Yi Tianyang have? He is the disciple of a venerable sovereign and the successor of the Solar God clan. As long as he is not a venerable sovereign, who can compete with him? I heard that young master Yi Tianyang fought with the venerable sovereigns of the Tao Defiance Alliance in the Battle of the Sky Beacon Divine World and came out unscathed. Even if this person is a peak king god, he won't be able to gain any advantage against young master Yi Tianyang. Let's wait and see. There's going to be a good show today." Yi Tianyang's arrival caused a commotion among the crowd again. Some people praised Yi Tianyang, saying that he was the #1 expert below the venerable sovereigns. Yi Tianyang glanced at Prince Qi on the ground and raised his eyebrows. Then his eyes under his eyebrows shot out a fierce, killing intent. "Sir, you crippled my cultivation path. How are you any different from those Tao Defiance?" Su Fong shouted domineeringly. "Who do you think you are? What qualifications do you have to speak to me? Scram!" "Then I, Yi Tianyang, have no choice but to seek justice for Prince Qi today." Yi Tianyang let out a voice filled with killing intent, his hands forming a seal. Then he clasped his hands together, and when he abruptly separated them, a golden ray of light suddenly appeared, like the radiance of a divine sun. Immediately after, a divine sun phantom whizzed towards Su Fong. All of a sudden, it was as if a divine sun had fallen to the earth, incinerating everything in the world. An astonishing flame divine might instantly incinerated most of the pavilion. Space distorted, and the great Tao laws seemed to melt away. "The successor of the sun god race is only at your level?" Su Fong sneered disdainfully. Actually, Yi Tianyang's strength was definitely not as weak as Su Fong said. To be able to rise to fame within 10,000 years and break the record set by Dishuan and Su Fong in Yuan Tiangong. How could such a peerless genius be ordinary? Right now, Yi Tianyang was not using his full strength. His casual attack was already comparable to an upper-ranked chief god's. It was clear that his strength was extraordinary. To have such extraordinary strength at such a young age was indeed extremely shocking. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile and reached out to grab the divine sun phantom. The divine might of the yin-yang world surged out, turning into the power of the shackles of the universe. It crushed the divine sun phantom, turning it into a golden xianguang and dissipating. Yi Tianyang's divine light instantly changed. The other young elites were also dumbfounded, watching this scene in disbelief. Kneel! Su Fong let out a thunderous roar, his right arm vibrating. Golden electric currents flashed, and a surge of divine might of the nine suns erupted. Then he struck out with his palm. His arm and palm expanded wildly, reaching above Yi Tianyang's head in an instant. His palm, which covered an area of 10 feet, came crashing down. Under Su Fong's divine might of the nine suns, Yi Tianyang could not resist at all, nor could he teleport away. He was viciously slapped by Su Fong. Boom! From the side, Yi Tianyang was like a fly that had been swatted. He was viciously slapped to the ground by Su Fong's palm. His entire body sank into the ground, as if he was imprinted on the ground. Whoosh! Many young elites exclaimed in shock. A peerless genius was swatted to the ground like a fly with a single slap. What kind of terrifying divine power was this? Although Yi Tianyang was in a sorry state, his injuries were not serious. He struggled to get up from the ground and looked at Su Fong in shock. He asked in a trembling voice, "Who are you?" Su Fong replied domineeringly, "I just said that you are not qualified to talk to me. Your master, Emperor Jingyang, is just barely qualified." Could this person be a peerless emperor? Yi Tianyang was terrified. His confidence and pride had been shattered by Su Fong's slap. He had even lost the courage to continue challenging Su Fong. The many young elites outside the pavilion all looked at Su Fong with awe. How could they dare to say a word? Which emperor has come to our clan and bully a few juniors so wantonly? Do you think there is no one in the imperial people who can stand up to you? An old man in a white robe and a golden crown emerged from the void and shouted coldly at Su Fong. This person was an Emperor Realm Master. The reason why the imperial people could become the #1 divine clan in the heavens was not only because of the Mountain Guardian, but also because Dihao was a peak emperor and a half-step transcendence master. This old man with a golden crown was the first supreme elder of the imperial people. He usually stayed in the imperial people and rarely showed himself. He did not participate in the War of the Two Realms either. No one expected him to show up now. Su Fong snorted coldly. "Lord Monarch Clan, it was these juniors who bullied me first. Can't I teach these juniors a lesson?" The old man with a golden crown shouted, "There is no emperor like you in the heavens. Who are you? What are you trying to do by sneaking into our clan?" Su Fong shook his head helplessly and said, "I only came to the imperial people with my cultivation partner to ask Dixuan for the wine he owes me. How could I have other intentions?" The old man with a golden crown was stunned. At this time, Dixuan's helpless voice came from the void. "Su Fong, it's true that I owe you a drink, but you don't have to ruin my banquet." Dixuan's figure appeared and quickly turned from void to solid. He looked at Su Fong with a helpless and bitter smile. "Su Fong." The old man with a golden crown's pupils suddenly shrank and emitted a terrifying light. He looked at Su Fong with a gaze that could see through everything in the world. Suddenly, the light in his eyes changed slightly. Immediately, the old man with a golden crown smiled bitterly, as expected of the holy son of Su Fong. "You are a peerless figure who can sit on the same level as an emperor. How could you lower yourself to the same level as those ignorant juniors?" That person is Su Fong. The young talents from various forces, especially the geniuses from Yuan Tiangong, were so scared that their faces turned pale. Yi Tianyang was also shocked. He looked at Su Fong in disbelief. The muscles on Su Fong's face wriggled, and he returned to his original appearance. Although his appearance was still so ordinary and his body was not so tall, he stood there calmly as if he was a supreme existence that supported the heavens and the earth. A domineering aura arose spontaneously. As expected, it's Su Fong. Hu and Yuan Tiangong didn't recognize Su Fong. The young talents all trembled when they saw Su Fong's true appearance. Those who had mocked and insulted Su Fong before were so scared that their legs turned to jelly, and they directly knelt on the ground. Su Fong. He killed lords like he was killing chickens. Several emperors from the Tao Defiance Alliance had died at his hands. Moreover, he had just turned the situation around on the battlefield of the Two Realms River and saved the myriad worlds. The future of the myriad worlds all depended on him. Even the supreme beings from the imperial people had to treat such a person with caution. Moreover, it was rumored that Su Fong's temper wasn't very good. How dare they mock and insult him? Even if he killed them, their forces wouldn't even dare to fart. Instead, they would praise Su Fong for doing the right thing. Tianyong looked at Su Fong. His heart was filled with defeat, humiliation, and intense hatred and resentment. Su Fong smiled bitterly at the golden-crowned old man's words. At this moment, no one in the myriad worlds treated him as a young genius. Instead, he was an expert on the same level as emperors, or even stronger than them. Dishuan looked at the mess in the pavilion and frowned at Dishu. What happened? How can you treat a guest like this? Moreover, Su Fong is a good friend of mine. Dishu trembled. He didn't dare to hide anything. He told Dishuan and the golden-crowned old man everything that had just happened. The golden-crowned old man immediately felt his head swell. His head hurt slightly. Tianyong and Prince Qi were really blind. Others couldn't wait to hide from Su Fong, but the two of them had actually set their sights on Su Fong's partner. Were they tired of living? Now, even the imperial people had been implicated. How could the golden-crowned old man not have a headache? Dishuan, Su Fong's saint is your friend. Treat him well. The golden-crowned old man immediately fled, leaving Dishuan with a huge problem. Dishuan smiled bitterly again. Dishuan looked at Su Fong. Su Fong, how do you think we should deal with them? Su Fong's divine light swept over Tianyong and the others. I'm not an unforgiving person. However, you've humiliated my partner. If I still do nothing, won't people think that Su Fong is a soft persimmon that can be bullied by anyone? Dishian rolled his eyes at Su Fong. Su Fong had a vengeful personality and was well known throughout the entire Primordius Heavenly Palace. Yet, he actually claimed that he wasn't an unforgiving person. Tianyong gritted his teeth and said, I was wrong first this time. Su Fong, what do you think we should do? Su Fong said coldly, how can you ants offend the dignity of Su Fong? Kneel down and admit your guilt to my partner, or I'll beat you until you kneel down and admit your guilt. Then I'll destroy your divine abode. Tianyong looked at Dishuan with a pleading look. However, Dishuan said, Su Fong's saint has saved all the worlds and is admired by all the worlds. You humiliated his partner. If you don't give him a satisfactory explanation today, even if he lets you go today, I'm afraid that all the humans in all the worlds won't let you go. Do as you see fit. Tianyong was full of humiliation and unwillingness. However, he also knew that Dishuan's words were true. If he didn't submit to Su Fong today, there would be greater humiliation waiting for him in the future. He hesitated for a moment. Chapter 25:07. Xuanxin said coldly, I'll listen to everything Su Fong says. If Su Fong forgives you, I won't make things difficult for you anymore. Tianyong's heart was filled with humiliation as he looked at Su Fong. Su Fong's sharp and cold gaze seemed to be able to penetrate Tianyong's heart. Are you filled with dissatisfaction and thinking about how to take revenge on me in the future? Tianyong lowered his head and said in a trembling voice, I don't dare. Su Fong waved his hand. Get up. I'll let you off this time. Tianyong was finally freed from the endless humiliation. Su Fong asked, You offended my Tao companion. Logically speaking, I can directly kill you. Do you know why I let you off this time? Tianyong said, Holy Son Su Fong is magnanimous. It's because you saw that my talent is extraordinary that you let me off. Su Fong sneered. Your talent is indeed outstanding in the myriad of worlds, but what does that have to do with my Su Fong? My Su Fong has always been someone who punches me once, and I'll return it 10 times. You dared to offend my Tao companion, so I'll just kill you. Who cares what kind of heaven-defying talent you have? Moreover, that little bit of talent that you are so proud of is nothing in front of me, Su Fong. These words were like a handful of salt that was sprinkled on Yi Tianyang's wounds, mercilessly crushing his confidence and pride into pieces, and his heart was dripping with blood. You're filled with resentment towards me and want to pull out my tendons and skin me alive. I originally wanted to kill you to prevent any future troubles. The reason I let you off was because you're the successor of the Solar God race, and I have some karma with the Solar God race. Therefore, I let you off. If you're not convinced, then my Su Fong will welcome you to challenge us openly at any time. If you use any underhanded means, then don't blame my Su Fong for being ruthless. After that, Su Fong waved his hand. Yi Tianyang felt as if he had been pardoned and hurried away with a heart full of humiliation and hatred. Su Fong then looked at Prince Qi, who was lying on the ground. You don't know what's good for you. Not only did you offend my Dao partner, but you also sent your subordinates to kill me. I can kill you 100 times over. Do you know why I spared your life? Prince Qi's spiritual abode had been destroyed, and he was a cripple from now on. At this time, he had nothing to lose. Because his tongue had been cut off, he couldn't recover in a short time and couldn't speak. He looked at Su Fong with eyes full of resentment. The reason why I spared your life is so that you can go back to the Qi people and pass a message to Emperor Qi. Emperor Qi chased after my subordinates and tried to kill my Dao partner. He stole my resources and treasures. It's time to settle the score. Su Fong has always been clear about kindness and hatred. Su Fong will repay the kindness of those who have done me a favor. I will return the favor tenfold to those who have done me a favor 10 times over. Whoever threatens my family, I will wipe out their entire family. Tell Emperor Qi that if he confesses his sins in the Saint Hall within a year, Su Fong will spare his life and let the Qi people go. If I don't see Emperor Qi kneeling in front of the Saint Hall in a year, Su Fong will massacre the Qi people. Su Fong's voice was full of murderous intent, which made Di Xuan shudder. Those young talents from the major forces also trembled, especially those from the Luo clan, Duanmu Divine clan, and Yi clan. They were afraid that Su Fong would turn hostile and kill them right away. Su Fong didn't let them go. His divine light swept across those young talents. Go back and tell the venerable sovereigns in your clans that Su Fong won't let any of those who chased after my subordinates and threatened my family go. What I said to the Qi people just now is also effective on them. Boom! After that, a majestic aura, like the wrath of the heavenly Tao, enveloped the young talents. Di Xuan's body swayed. He was also affected by Su Fong's divine aura. Those young talents couldn't bear it and knelt down. Prince Qi couldn't bear it and fainted. He had declared war on so many ancient divine clans alone. How domineering and awe-inspiring. Su Fong cupped his fist at Di Xuan. Lord Di Xuan, sorry for disturbing you. Farewell. Di Xuan hurriedly said, I haven't fulfilled my promise to treat you to wine in the 9th serenity. You can leave after you have a drink with me. Didn't we just drink? Su Fong smiled embarrassedly and left with Xuanxin. Those young talents from the various divine clans and forces didn't have the mood to stay and drink anymore. They all bid farewell and left. Domineering and arrogant. He even looks down on the supreme imperial people. He's too arrogant. Di Xuan, the imperial people's genius, said angrily, venting his resentment towards Su Fong. He only dared to say that after Su Fong left. When Su Fong was here, he didn't even dare to fart. Di Xuan said casually, Su Fong has the right to be domineering and arrogant. If you turn the tide and turn the situation around when the world was about to be destroyed, you could also be so domineering and arrogant. Di Xuan had nothing to say. He knew that Di Xuan was telling the truth. Then he snorted and said disdainfully, Su Fong is indeed powerful and has saved the world, but he is so arrogant in front of us. He even threatened to destroy the Qi people, the Duanmu Divine clan, the Yi clan, and the Luo clan. He is not only arrogant, but also stupid. He thinks that he can do whatever he wants in the world with his strength and achievements. He offended so many forces at once. If this isn't stupid, what is? Dixuan raised his eyebrows. You think so? Dixuan said, That's right. Dixuan snorted. Stupid. You are the stupid one, not Su Fong. Su Fong has another purpose for doing this. He is not stupid. On the contrary, he is far more scheming than you can imagine. Why? He has the strength to kill a venerable sovereign. He even has a trump card that can threaten a transcendent. Plus, he has saved the world. Why would he care about those divine clans and venerable sovereigns? He is doing this to make an example out of them. If he treats the Qi people as chickens, then who is the monkey? Of course it is my clan. The strongest of my clan is afraid of losing control of Su Fong. That's why he asked me to hold this banquet to rope in all the major forces and divine clans. How could Su Fong not see the imperial people's intention? He made a scene at the banquet this time and openly threatened venerable sovereigns like the Qi Emperor. He is doing this to make a show of force. That Su Fong is so scheming. I've already told the strongest of my clan that Su Fong can only be roped in and not suppressed. Unfortunately, he didn't listen. This time, Su Fong is in conflict with the Qi people and other divine clans. I am afraid it will not be long before the imperial people. Dixuan sighed helplessly. His eyes were full of worry. Dixuan said disdainfully, No matter how powerful Su Fong is, he is just a genius from the macro world. How can he fight against my clan? Lord Dixuan's worry is unnecessary. Dixuan snorted. The Ji people also thought of Su Fong like this. In the end, the Ji people were exterminated and disappeared in the long river of history. The news of the imperial people's banquet quickly spread throughout the Yuan Tiangong and even the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. The Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm were in an uproar. Su Fong publicly announced that he wants to kill Emperor Qi and other divine clans' venerable sovereigns. He is too arrogant. I'm afraid he has gone berserk in the River of Two Realms. Not only did he kill the Dao Defiance Alliance's venerable sovereigns, but he also killed the human venerable sovereigns. He is so arrogant and domineering. How disappointing. Even if those venerable sovereigns had some misunderstandings with Su Fong's subordinates, aren't his subordinates safe and sound now? Now that the catastrophe is coming, the human race should work together to deal with it. However, Su Fong only wants to vent his anger and disregards the safety of the myriad worlds. Those who said these words were naturally the ancient divine clans and super forces who had grudges with Su Fong. Moreover, with the help of these powerful forces, they wantonly spread the news, making Su Fong the target of public criticism. However, those cultivators at the lowest level all secretly praised Su Fong. Those ancient god tribes had plundered for their own benefits. They didn't even let go of the treasures Su Fong had left behind. Su Fong's counterattack made those cultivators at the lowest level very happy. 10 days later, the Qi people's patriarch publicly announced in the Yuan Tiangong that Emperor Qi wanted to kill the Xianming sect master for the sake of the human race, and not to take his treasures, as Su Fong said. Moreover, the Qi people's patriarch also said that the peerless genius of the Qi people, Qi Mian, was killed by Su Fong in the Nine Serenities. The Qi people's supreme treasure, the illusionary south-breaking compass chariot, was snatched by Su Fong. Emperor Qi would accept Su Fong's challenge and fight Su Fong in a deserted star region outside the Hunyuan Heaven Realm. At that time, not only would he take back the illusionary south-breaking compass chariot, but he would also shackle Su Fong for 10,000 years as punishment. In addition, the Qi people also announced that Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce would cut off all business with Su Fong's forces. Any cultivator or big goblin under Su Fong's command would not be allowed to step in a Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. Once the news spread, it caused another uproar. The Qi people were an ancient divine clan that had been passed down since ancient times. How deep were their foundations? Even Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce belonged to the Qi people. If they did not do business with Su Fong now, the cultivators and big goblin under Su Fong would have trouble in the Yuan Tiangong and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm in the future. Then, Emperor Xingyang personally announced that Su Fong was not the only one who could enter the celestial worthy mountain and stop the changes in the world. As long as he handed over the Hunyuan sacred mirror, Yi Tianyang could also enter the celestial worthy mountain with the help of the Hunyuan sacred mirror. This news once again shocked the Yuan Tiangong. Although many people were skeptical, it succeeded in reducing the importance of Su Fong in people's minds. The Luo clan, the Yi clan, and other divine clans also secretly added fuel to the fire, so that the aftermath of the battle in the two world rivers hadn't dissipated and caused another stir in the Yuan Tiangong. In the Saint Temple, Qi people, you want to suppress Su Fong with your power? Do you really think that Su Fong doesn't dare to kill Qi people, or do you think that Su Fong doesn't have the guts to do so? Su Fong sneered when he received the news. No matter how powerful the ancient divine clans are, so what? You have a strong force, but Su Fong only needs a pair of fists to crush everything. In the face of absolute strength, everything will be crushed into powder. Chapter 25:08. A year passed in the blink of an eye. The Qi people didn't visit Su Fong within a year. The Duanmu divine clan, Yi clan, Luo clan, and Guanghan emperor didn't care. A battle with a venerable emperor was inevitable. There was a galaxy far away from the Hunyuan heaven realm called the Tianhe Galaxy. It was destroyed in the chaos of the heavenly way. Thousands of planes of the divine realm were destroyed, forming a vast galaxy of ruins. The place where Emperor Qi and Su Fong agreed to fight was the Tianhe Galaxy. Emperor Qi stood majestically in the natural void above a shattered god world. His deep eyes were filled with sharp, killing intent. Emperor Qi, a shadow of a primordial spirit, appeared not far in front of Emperor Qi. It was the primordial spirit of true young emperor. Then, the shadows of the venerable emperors from the Luo clan, Yi clan, and Guanghan emperor also appeared. Only the venerable emperors from the Duanmu divine clan didn't appear. Emperor Qi, the Qi people should be well prepared this time, right? Guanghan emperor asked worriedly. Before the battle of the two realms, Guanghan emperor was shackled as a spy. The real spy was Hao Yuan emperor. After the battle, Guanghan emperor was naturally released. Guanghan emperor had hunted down Huang Lingyao and even wanted to kill Xuanqin. Su Fong wouldn't let him go. Unlike other venerable emperors, he didn't have a powerful force of his own. His strength wasn't outstanding among the venerable emperors in all realms. He could only be considered ordinary. How could Guanghan emperor not be afraid of Su Fong? The Luo clan emperor was also very worried. Su Fong is arrogant and domineering, but his strength can't be underestimated. He also has the ability to transcend heaven and earth temporarily. It's not difficult to defeat him, but it's very difficult to catch him. If he escapes, the consequences will be severe. Emperor Qi's face was full of pride. I've already ambushed 200,000 of my elite clansmen in this ruined galaxy. With these 200,000 experts, I have created a huge heaven-sealing, God-sealing formation. Even if Su Fong has the ability to transcend heaven and earth, he will not be able to escape from the heaven-sealing, God-sealing formation. Emperor True Yang Emperor nodded and said, Heaven-sealing God, imprisonment array? No wonder I sensed that something was wrong with the heaven and earth here. It turned out to be the seal the sky and seal the God-forbidding great formation created by the 200,000 Qi clan experts. The other Emperor Masters also had confident looks on their faces. Why? The heaven-sealing God-forbidding array was not well known in the myriad worlds, but these Emperor Realm Masters had heard of it like thunder. In the war that surpassed the ancient times and decided the fate of the human race and the demon race, the human race won a complete victory, and the heaven-sealing and God-forbidding formation played a huge role. It was said that the heaven-sealing God-imprisonment array could seal time and space, and even the heavenly way. It had once sealed more than 10 million Demon Clan experts, including the Ancestor Fiend. In the end, except for the Ancestor Fiend, only a few Demon Clan experts were lucky enough to escape. The rest were all killed by human experts, causing the Demon Clan to suffer great losses and had to retreat to the Dark World. The heaven-sealing God imprisonment array, created by 200,000 elites of the Qi people, was definitely not as powerful as the array created by human experts in the Great War. However, the heaven-sealing God imprisonment array was famous for its ability to seal the heavenly way. Even if Su Fong had the ability to transcend heaven and earth, he couldn't escape the shackles of the array as long as he was trapped in it. In the eyes of these venerable emperors, as long as Su Fong's ability to transcend heaven and earth was restricted, it would be easy to deal with Su Fong. After all, these venerable emperors were old monsters who had lived for countless eras. Which one of them didn't have powerful magical powers and magic treasures? Emperor Qi looked at Emperor Zhenyang's nascent soul shadow and said, "Lord Zhenyang, I'm a little worried about what you said. Does Yi Tianyang really have the ability to replace Su Fong and enter the celestial worthy mountain? If we shackle Su Fong and get the Origin's sacred mirror, Yi Tianyang won't be able to activate it. By then, not only will our efforts be in vain, we will also have to obediently return the Origin's sacred mirror to Su Fong. The imperial people and human cultivators from all over the world will probably force us to bow to Su Fong." The nascent soul shadows of the other venerable emperors also looked at Emperor Zhenyang. They didn't expect this. Emperor Qi had set a trap to shackle Su Fong, seize his Origin's sacred mirror, and let Yi Tianyang replace Su Fong. In this way, Su Fong would lose his value, and they could do whatever they wanted with him. Emperor Zhenyang's nascent soul shadow revealed a smug look. "You don't know how terrifying it is, right? The Origin's sacred mirror was created by the Creator the Arch with the 9 divine sons. That's why it has such terrifying power, surpassing any divine tool of creation. It's not an exaggeration to call it the #1 divine tool of myriad worlds." Emperor Qi and the others exclaimed, "Is there such a thing?" Emperor Zhenyang said confidently, "I'm a descendant of the solar divine tribe. How could I be wrong? Yi Tianyang also has the bloodline of the solar divine tribe. As long as he gets Su Fong's Origin's sacred mirror, he will be able to activate this supreme magic treasure and obtain the qualification to enter the celestial worthy mountain. By then, Su Fong will be worthless. Who will remember his previous contributions? A worthless Su Fong is no different from a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. There's nothing to fear." Emperor Qi nodded and said, "Since that's the case, I'm mostly at ease." Emperor Zhenyang's nascent soul shadow shook his head and said, "The only thing I'm worried about is that phantom that easily dealt with the Tao Defiance Alliance Master's lethal attack. It should be a strand of the nascent soul consciousness of a peerless expert from beyond the heavens. If he were to attack again, then who would be able to resist his attack?" When that image was mentioned, they'd once personally witnessed that image deal with the shocking attack of the Tao Defiance Alliance's master and make the Tao Defiance flee in terror. All of these Emperor Realm experts were horrified by the scene. That phantom strength probably possessed the supreme strength to easily kill a transcendent realm expert. Even the clone that had descended into this world was afraid of him. So how could these emperors not be afraid? A moment of silence ensued. Emperor Qi said, "According to my analysis, there's definitely some sort of restriction to that phantom's attack. Otherwise, why didn't Su Fong send that phantom out when even the guardians of the mountain had to sacrifice themselves at the beginning of the war between the two worlds?" The Yi clan's emperor nodded in agreement. "Exactly. That phantom only suddenly attacked when the Tao Defiance Alliance master wanted to kill Su Fong. That's sufficient to prove that the phantom would only attack when Su Fong was at a critical moment of life and death. So long as we don't kill Su Fong and just restrain him, then we wouldn't have to fear that phantom." The Luo clan's emperor said, "Moreover, that phantom came from beyond the heavens after all, so it's impossible for him to attack without restraint in this universe. So long as we exhaust his strength, then wouldn't Su Fong be at our mercy?" The other emperors didn't say anything. The Luo clan's emperor was right, but exhausting the phantom's strength would require the lives of these emperors to pay for it. These emperors had lived for countless eras and had practically coexisted with the heavens and the earth. They were immortal and lived well. So how could they be willing to die? At that time, it would depend on who was the unlucky one. Next, The 5 emperors discussed several times on how to restrain Su Fang. Only after confirming that there were no loopholes did they feel relieved. In the end, Emperor Qi said, "Everyone, it's time to discuss how to divide Su Fang's treasures after we restrain Su Fang. The origin divine mirror will belong to Lord Jinyang, and the illusionary south-breaking compass chariot will naturally belong to me. As for how to divide the other treasures, we'd better discuss in advance to avoid unnecessary disputes." Suddenly, before Emperor Qi could finish his words, his expression changed abruptly, and he cried out in alarm, "Oh no! What's the matter?" The other Emperor Realm Masters were also shocked. Emperor Qi's eyes revealed a trace of panic. "An expert has sneaked into our clan. Over 1,000 of our experts have been killed. Even the divine temple that worships our Qi people's ancestors has been burned down." The shadow of Emperor Jinyang's primordial spirit said in surprise, "Could it be that Su Fang didn't come to Tian's Star Zone, but secretly infiltrated the Qi people?" Emperor Qi said, "Our clan is heavily guarded. With the powerful ward created by me with a supreme divine weapon, even an emperor's can't break it. Besides, in Yuan Tiangong, who would dare to attack the Qi people except for Su Fang? It seems that it can only be Su Fang." Emperor Yi said sharply, "Su Fang, that thief, is so despicable." The Emperor of Guanghan said, "Could it be Su Fang's plan to create a diversion?" Emperor Qi said coldly, "Whether it's Su Fang's plan or not, I have to return to my clan. Humph, if it's really Su Fang, I'll make sure he never comes back. The ward inside the Qi people is much more powerful than the sealing heaven and God prohibiting array. Please follow me to the Qi people and suppress this thief together." Emperor Jinyang said, "What about here?" Emperor Qi thought for a moment and said, 200,000 masters of our clan will stay in Tian's Star Zone first. Emperor of Guanghan, please stay here too. If Su Fang comes here, trap him for a while at all costs. I'll return with the other emperors soon. He won't escape." Emperor Yi nodded and said, "That's good. No matter how cunning Su Fang is, he can't escape the fate of being suppressed this time. Su Fang, you killed my Qi clan's clansman. I'm going to skin you alive," Emperor Qi said with a murderous look. Then he disappeared into the void, and the shadows of the emperor's primordial spirits also disappeared. After about half an hour, a figure flashed out of a floating ruin thousands of miles away from where Emperor Qi disappeared. Su Fang. Looking at the place where Emperor Qi disappeared, Su Fang sneered, "I didn't expect these emperors to covet my Hun Yuan sacred mirror." It turned out that Su Fang had arrived in Tian's Star Zone a long time ago. He had the ability to transcend heaven and earth, and he also had the divine life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. Even the emperors couldn't sense his existence. As for the internal affairs of the Qi people, naturally, Su Fang wouldn't do it himself. In the past year, in order to deal with the Qi people, Su Fang didn't stay idle. He let the second primordial spirit secretly take action and use the night demon to control many Qi people. The chaos inside the Qi people was caused by the puppets controlled by the second primordial spirit. Their purpose was to lure Emperor Qi and the other emperors away. Chapter 2509. Su Fang, you're not with the Qi people. Instead, you're here. A figure slowly appeared in the distant galaxy. It was the Emperor of Moon. Su Fang wasn't surprised by the appearance of the Emperor of Moon. He sneered and said, "I'm not a fool. I know that the emperors of the Qi people colluded with you and set a trap in the Sky River sector. Why would I jump into the fire pit?" The Emperor of Moon sneered and said, "Do you think the Sky River sector is not a fire pit because you lured Emperor Qi and other emperors to the Qi people? I can still suppress you without them." Su Fang didn't take the Emperor of Moon seriously at all. "You're just a bottom-tier emperor. How dare you suppress me, Su Fang? Are you even more powerful than Sovereign Venerable Fu Sha and Devil Saint?" Being mocked by a young cultivator who had only cultivated for over 300,000 years, the Moon God Emperor was a little embarrassed. "Back in the Sky Beacon Divine Realm, you were just an ant. I could have crushed you with a single finger. How dare you act so arrogantly in front of me?" Do you think I'm the only one that Emperor Qi prepared for you? Then he shouted domineeringly, I don't need to suppress you. I only need to delay you for a while. Emperor Qi, Emperor Yi, Emperor Luo, and Emperor Xinyan will come. How can you not be suppressed when facing 5 peerless sovereigns? You should have found the Qi people hiding in the ruins of the godly world. They're specially prepared for you. Seal the heavens and seal the gods' array. Activate. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful energy burst out from the ruins and formed a terrifying power that could seal the heavenly way in the star sector. It enveloped Su Fong. Su Fong felt that time and space and the heavenly way were all sealed, making it difficult for him to go beyond this universe. He was confined to the Sky River sector, which meant that his ability to go beyond this universe was restricted. This discovery caused Su Fong's expression to change instantly. His face was filled with panic. When the Temple Supremacy saw Su Fong's expression from afar, he said smugly, Su Fong, even an ancestral fiend, nearly fell into the heaven-sealing, God-sealing array back then. Are you more powerful than an ancestral fiend? Su Fong trembled. The heaven-sealing, God-forbidding array? There's actually such a powerful formation? The Moon Emperor looked even more smug. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you so scared now? Su Fong, you won't be able to escape the fate of being suppressed this time. If this emperor can capture you personally, then this emperor will be able to obtain one more treasure from you. I don't want anything else but your ancestral fiend blood plate. Su Fong suddenly chuckled. Are you sure this so-called heaven-sealing, God-forbidding formation can really trap me? Su Fong? The Moon Emperor sneered. Even an ancestral fiend almost couldn't escape from the heaven-sealing, God-forbidding formation. How can you escape from it? Su Fong, don't force yourself. Don't make any pointless resistance. This emperor won't kill you. At most, I'll just shackle you. I was just deliberately playing with you. You really took it seriously. Su Fong revealed a disdainful smile. Then, he let out a thunderous roar. Heaven-sealing, God-forbidding formation break. Su Fong didn't show any divine power. The Moon Emperor couldn't help but laugh. Su Fong, do you think you can save your life by deliberately mystifying things? You're just making me laugh at you. Before the Moon Emperor could finish his words, suddenly screams of agony could be heard from the floating ruins. Su Fong had long known about Emperor Qi's conspiracy. How could he not have a way to deal with it? Among the 200,000 experts of the Qi clan, there were over 100 puppets controlled by the second primordial spirit using the night charm ability. As early as a year ago, when Emperor Qi was preparing to deal with Su Fong in the Tiana sector, Su Fong had heard the news from those puppets. Then, he quietly sent Huang Lingyao Wang Tian, Shi, Zhu Wei, Zhu Wei, Zhu Wei, Zhu Wei, Qian, Zhan Xian, Xiao Xiao. Until now, Huang Lingyao Wang Tian, Zhu Wei, Zhu Wei, Zhu Wei, E, astragalus sodium and clothianide, Huan E. Although the overall strength of Su Fong's 100,000 subordinates was not as good as the 200,000 Qi people, their sudden sneak attack caught them off guard. In an instant, countless Qi people were killed. As for the sky-sealing, God-prohibiting array, as the Qi people were killed, it naturally collapsed. The power of sealing time and space and the heavenly law also disappeared. The look on the Moon Emperor's face changed instantly. The smugness on his face instantly turned into shock and horror. What happened? Why did this happen? At this moment, a black Xian Guang shot out from the void. The shocking power of the primordial spirit burst out and hit the divine aperture of the Moon Emperor, shaking his primordial spirit. The Moon Emperor staggered and hurriedly used the defense of his divine aperture to block the impact of the terrifying power of the primordial spirit. Moon Emperor, you'll be the first puppet under Su Fong's command. You should feel honored. Su Fong shouted and flashed into the void. When he reappeared, he was less than 1,000 feet away from the Moon Emperor. At this moment, the Moon Emperor was trying his best to deal with the second primordial spirit, so he didn't have time to care about anything else. Su Fong didn't want to kill him. Otherwise, with the powerful power of the second primordial spirit and the divine power of the night demon primordial spirit after devouring the Lord of the Sky Wheel. The second primordial spirit alone could kill him. How could Su Fong bear to kill such a good slave? Su Fong first activated the Heavenly Supervisor token and released the power of the Heavenly Law to seal the time and space around the Moon Emperor. Then, the Moon Emperor couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Then, Su Fong activated the Prison Suppression Codex. After all, the Moon Emperor was a supreme, celestial venerable. Although the second primordial spirit could take over his primordial spirit and control his mind with the night demon divine power, the Moon Emperor would become a living dead person, which was not what Su Fong wanted. Shackling the primordial spirit and the divine abode was a means of controlling cultivators, which was useless against a celestial venerable. As a result, Su Fong decided to use the Prison Suppression Codex to suppress him. As long as the Prison Suppression Codex was in Su Fong's hands, the Moon Emperor could only obey Su Fong's will. This was the power of the Prison Suppression Codex. The Moon Emperor was very knowledgeable and recognized the Prison Suppression Codex at a glance. He immediately exclaimed, "Prison Suppression Codex. I'm a celestial venerable. Su Fong, how dare you make me your slave?" Su Fong smiled coldly. "In the Sky Beacon Divine World, I was using the identity of the big goblin Yuan Li. You bullied me, and I tolerated it. But you dared to chase after my subordinates and try to snatch my treasures. What's more hateful is that you wanted to kill my Dao companion. This time, you joined forces with Emperor Qi to deal with me. You're so shameless. I spared your life because you're powerful. Otherwise, I would have killed you directly. Why would I go through so much trouble?" No matter how the Moon the Arch struggled or how indignant he was, he couldn't break free from the attacks and shackles of his second essence soul, the Heaven Supervisor token, and the Hell Suppressing Codex. In the end, he was sucked into the black Xianguang and turned into a lifelike picture. After the Prison Suppressing Codex was closed, Su Fong stored it into the Heaven and Earth Dao Palace. Just like that, a supreme sovereign became a slave of Su Fong. The battle in the galaxy ruins was still going on. The Qi people were indeed the elites of the Qi people. After a short panic and heavy casualties, they quickly stabilized their footing and immediately launched a counterattack against the masters under Su Fong's command. "My big goblin needs life essence to improve. All of you Qi people will become my big goblin's cultivation materials." Su Fong's eyes flashed with murderous intent. In a flash, he appeared between Wang Tian and Wang Tian. This Qi people powerhouse was the Grand Elder of the Qi people. His status was one level higher than the Qi people's clan leader. He rarely showed himself and cultivated in seclusion among the Qi people. His cultivation level had reached the peak of upper rank lord level and was in the process of breaking through to the supreme sovereign level. Such a powerhouse could be considered one of the top powerhouses in the universe. Right now, he was activating a huge golden bell, releasing golden ripples and earth-shattering chimes. Wang Tian, Su Dan, Huanli, Tao Qi, Liu Yaojin Su Fong suddenly appeared behind the Qi people's Grand Elder. Unlike the teleportation of ordinary lord-level powerhouses, Su Fong's teleportation transcended the heavenly Tao and teleported across space. It didn't cause any spatial ripples when he teleported. The Qi people's Grand Elder was focusing on Wang Tian, Sudan, Hui Barium suppressing the craftsman and squid, Na Shi, Pang Xing, Yang Shi. However, it was too late. Su Fong didn't use any divine abilities. Instead, he used his perfection-level physical strength to land a punch on the Qi people's Grand Elder's descendant. Crack, crack, crack. The Qi people's Grand Elder's defenses were broken, and countless bones in his divine body were shattered. However, this person was powerful. At the critical moment, he used the impact of Su Fong's punch to fly forward. A gust of world divine might surged out of his body, and he was about to merge with the heavenly Tao and escape. Su Fong's sneak attack had succeeded. How could he give him a chance to escape? The ancestor demon blood plate flew out with surging demonic qi, unleashing a powerful primordial spirit power that could crush ordinary sovereigns. It shattered the Qi people's primordial spirit, leaving his corpse floating in the void. Wang Tian, Sudan, Sishuan, Dan, Sudan. Su Fong tossed the corpse directly to Wang Tian, Sudan, Wang Tian, Sudan, 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 Sudan. The Qi people's grand elder was killed, and the Qi people immediately lost their fighting spirit. The counterattack that they had just organized collapsed quickly, and they fled in all directions in the Sky River sector. The experts under Su Fong's command chased after the Qi people's experts. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Emperor Qi, Emperor Luo, Emperor Yi, and Emperor Xinjiang appeared in the Sky River sector. Seeing this scene, Chapter 25:10. Emperor Qi returned to the Qi people with a murderous aura. What he saw was a mess. Even the temple dedicated to the ancestors of the Qi people had been burned down. Countless people had died. QL11, although the real loss was not great. How could Emperor Qi not be angry when such a thing happened among the Qi people? Before the chaos among the Qi people could settle down, the Grand Elder of the Qi people sent a message through the rune talisman. Su Fong had come to the Sky River sector and caused the Qi people to rebel for no reason. They had released the experts under Su Fong. Not only was the heaven-sealing, God-sealing array broken, but many of the Qi people's experts were also killed or injured. Only then did Emperor Qi realize that he had been tricked by Su Fong. He immediately rushed to the Sky River sector with the other 3 emperors. The speed of the emperors was not slow. However, Su Fong and his subordinates were killing people faster than Emperor Qi. When Emperor Qi and the other 3 emperors arrived at the Sky River sector, almost 1/3 of the Qi people's experts had been killed or injured. Even the Grand Elder of the Qi people had been killed. These were the elites of the Qi people. They were also the foundation of the Qi people. How could Emperor Qi not be angry when he saw this? His fury right now could simply burn the heavens. However, when he used his sensing ability, he could not find Su Fong. All he saw was Su Fong's subordinates chasing after the Qi people's experts. Whoosh! The Moon God Emperor arrived with a cold aura. Emperor Qi stared at the Temple Emperor and wished he could swallow him whole. Temple Emperor, why did you watch as my people were being hunted down by Su Fong's subordinates? Why didn't you help? The Moon God Emperor said coldly, Su Fong is hiding in the dark and can attack me at any time. Do you think I'm a match for Su Fong with my strength? Emperor Qi barked coldly. Humph, to think that a great martial monarch would be so afraid of a mere lesser chief god. I really look down on you. The Moon Emperor snorted. Emperor Qi, it's easy for you to say that. If you were to face Su Fong alone, wouldn't you be afraid? Don't you know what happened to Devil Saint Fu Sha, Evil Venerable Tian Du, and Dong Sha Mashan? This emperor is afraid of Su Fong. So what? Emperor Qi was speechless when he heard the Temple Emperor's words. The other 3 venerable emperors also felt a chill run down their spines. The Qi Emperor was about to kill Su Fong's subordinates to resolve the crisis for his people. Suddenly, Emperor Qi's brows furrowed as he looked at the void before him. Few Emperor Sangqiu and Emperor Only Dao walked out of the void. The expressions of Emperor Qi and the others changed slightly. Emperor Qi said coldly, Sangqiu, Only Dao, are you here in the Sky River sector to help Su Fong and become enemies with the local people? Emperor Sangqiu said majestically, if you were to fight Su Fong openly, that would be your personal grudge, and this emperor wouldn't care. However, you've invited so many venerable emperors to deal with Su Fong alone. This emperor will help Su Fong even if it means falling out with the Qi people. Emperor Qi said murderously, good, very good. I hope you won't regret becoming enemies with this emperor. Then, he looked at Emperor Only Dao. Emperor Only Dao, are you also planning to become enemies with this emperor? Emperor Only Dao smiled casually. This emperor owes Su Fong a big favor. If Su Fong is in trouble and this emperor doesn't do anything, I'll be ridiculed. Besides, it's not a big deal even if I become enemies with you." Emperor Qi shouted domineeringly. This emperor doesn't care about two mere venerable emperors. Today, this emperor will kill anyone who dares to stop this emperor from suppressing Su Fong. Is that so? What if this emperor joins in? Another venerable emperor appeared from the void. It was Xiao Wanting. This time, Emperor Qi and the others' expressions changed drastically. Xiao Wanting was not an ordinary venerable emperor. Below the supreme imperial people, there were few venerable emperors who were Xiao Wanting's match. Although Xiao Wanting had been poisoned by the ancestral demon during the Battle of the Two Realms River and was seriously injured, with Su Fong's help, his recovery speed was extremely fast. Even if he had not recovered to his peak state, he was still not someone an ordinary venerable emperor could contend with. Unexpectedly, Xiao Wanting had actually stood up for Su Fong. Now, there were as many as 3 venerable emperors supporting Su Fong. With the heaven-sealing, God-sealing array broken, it was impossible to suppress Su Fong. Xiao Wanting's eyes flashed with lightning. He looked at Emperor Qi and the others and said imposingly, "Su Fong has saved the world and is related to the survival of the world. Yet, you want to suppress her. Who gave you the courage?" "Emperor Xiao, please calm down." This emperor was invited by Emperor Qi to come here and be a witness to settle the feud between him and Su Fong. "I have no other intentions," Emperor Tru Yang quickly explained. Then, he cupped his fists at Emperor Qi and said, "Emperor Qi, since Emperor Xiao is here, this emperor won't keep you company. I'll take my leave first." Due to his fear of Su Fong, Emperor Tru Yang left as soon as he said so. He directly entered the void and did not stay for even a moment. Although Emperor Qi was angry, there was nothing he could do. Emperor Tru Yang's strength was one of the best amongst all the emperor powerhouses of Primordia's Heavenly Palace. In other words, he was only inferior to the unrivaled emperor clan existence, Xiao Wanting. Emperor Qi never imagined that Tru Yang would be able to slip away so quickly that there was nothing he could do. After Emperor Tru Yang left, Emperor Luo and Emperor Yi also wanted to leave. Only Emperor Guanghan was expressionless, as if he was frozen. No one knew what he was thinking. Emperor Qi transmitted his Yuan spirit to the other 3 venerable emperors. Su Fong and Emperor Tru Yang don't have any deep grudges. He can just leave. However, the 3 of you are different. Su Fong will not let this emperor go, nor will he let you go. Even if the plan fails today, we must join forces to deal with Su Fong. Otherwise, we will be defeated one by one, and none of us will be able to survive." Emperor Luo replied coldly. "Back then, it was my clansmen who chased after the Xianming sect master. At most, this emperor will compensate Su Fong with some treasures. Why should I risk my life to fight with him? This emperor wants to live for a few more years." Emperor Qi was furious. Emperor Yi's expression was uncertain. Obviously, he could not make up his mind. At this moment, Emperor Guanghan came to Emperor Qi's side in a flash. This emperor personally chased after the Xianming sect master. In addition, my strength is far inferior to yours. Therefore, this emperor is willing to join forces with Emperor Qi. Emperor Qi was instantly overjoyed. "Thank you for your assistance, Lord Guanghan." After that, he gazed at Emperor Yi and sent a voice transmission. "Lord Emperor Yi, the leader of the Tao Defiance, is the founder of your Yi clan. Moreover, this emperor heard that the genius of your Yi clan, Eli, colluded with the devil race and attempted to kill Su Fong and Di Xuan in the ninth hell." Emperor Qi's words were exactly what Emperor Yi was worried about, and his expression instantly became extremely unsightly. Emperor Qi struck while the iron was hot. Even the supreme existences of the imperial people are on guard against your Yi clan right now. They're preventing your Yi clan from colluding with the Tao Defiance in secret. If you don't join forces with this emperor, then the Yi clan will definitely have no place in the Yuan Tiangong in the future. You have to consider this carefully. Suddenly, Emperor Guanghan, who stood by Emperor Qi's side, suddenly attacked. An extremely cold aura surged out from his body and instantly enveloped Emperor Qi. This cold aura swiftly transformed into ice and sealed the Emperor Guanghan's divine body in ice. Emperor Luo, Emperor Yi, Emperor Sangxiu, Emperor Only Dao, and Xiao Wanting were all shocked by this sudden turn of events. Ka. Emperor Qi's body emitted a dazzling golden xianguang that attacked the ice shackles on his body, causing the ice to shatter and crack. The Emperor Guanghan's figure instantly became blurry, and he rapidly transformed into a world of ice that shackled Emperor Qi within. Within the world of ice, gusts of wind swept across, and huge ice blades and icicles shot toward Emperor Qi. Numerous icebergs descended from the sky, suppressing Emperor Qi. Emperor Qi shattered the shackles on his body and roared. "Guanghan, what are you doing?" Emperor Yi exclaimed loudly. "Guanghan, are you crazy? Emperor Qi has no enmity with you, yet you want to fight him to the death?" A venerable emperor could transform himself into a world. Once trapped within the world, all aspects of one's strength would be suppressed. However, there was a huge risk in doing so. If the expert shackled had the strength to break the world, it would be quite dangerous. If the injury was light, one would be severely injured by the destruction of the world, and it would take a long time for the world and one's body to recover. If the injury was severe, one might be obliterated along with the world and oneself. This was a venerable emperor's attack. Normally, they would use their divine aura to create a world. Unless it was a desperate situation, very few people would transform themselves into a world. The Emperor Guanghan had just said that he wanted to join forces with Emperor Qi, but now he suddenly attacked. It was truly unbelievable. Emperor Luo suddenly recalled that during the War of the Two Realms, Demon Saint Fu Sha had suddenly launched a sneak attack on Demon Saint Emo Tian after fighting with Su Fong. He suddenly realized, it's Su Fong. Su Fong has already suppressed Guanghan. The other venerable emperors also realized. Just as these venerable emperors were surprised and shocked, Su Fong, who had concealed his aura with a life-shrinking technique and was hiding above a floating ruin, used an ability that transcended heaven and earth and disappeared from the ruin in a flash. When Su Fong reappeared, he was 1,000 miles behind Emperor Yi. Emperor Yi was still shocked by the news that Guanghan had been suppressed by Su Fong and had become Su Fong's puppet when the ancestor demon bloodplate erupted with a dark xianguang that enveloped him. Emperor Qi's strength could be ranked in the top 10 of the 30-some emperor powerhouses of Primordia's heavenly palace. His strength could not be called weak, and this was also the reason he dared to challenge Su Fong. However, under the power of the ancestor demon bloodplate's primordial spirit, Emperor Qi could only be crushed. At this moment, the ancestor demon bloodplate was the #1 primordial spirit magic treasure in the myriad realms. The terrifying power that erupted from it instantly shattered Emperor Qi's divine aperture defense. His divine aperture shook, and his primordial spirit almost collapsed. Yin-yang change. At this moment, Su Fong struck out a shocking dermic seal. This dermic seal contained the myriad of great Daos in the universe. It contained the evolution of yin and yang in the universe, and it had the shocking power to trace all things back to their origin. What was even more shocking was that the dermic seal's divine power did not borrow from nature, but from a part of the universe that transcended heaven and earth. Boom! Chapter 25:11. Su Fong used the yin-yang transformation in his body. Although it was not as powerful as the Origin's sacred mirror, it was still extremely shocking. His sudden attack caused Emperor Yi to suffer a great loss. However, Emperor Yi was one of the top supreme sovereigns in the universe. He would not be killed so easily. Qi. Sharp arrow Qi surged out of Emperor Yi's body and tore apart the power of the yin-yang transformation. Of course, it was not because the yin-yang transformation was not powerful enough. Su Fong's cultivation was only at the level of a lesser lord. Coupled with the sudden attack, he did not have time to activate the Origin's sacred mirror. In addition, There was a huge gap between his cultivation and Emperor Yi's. Although Emperor Yi was injured, it was still bearable. Emperor Yi shouted at Su Fong in disdain. Su Fong, this should be your most powerful attack, right? It's just SOSO. Then he said with a murderous aura, Su Fong, since you want to kill me, I can't let you live. Xiao Wanting let out a thunderous roar. Emperor Yi, Su Fong is the best candidate to enter the exalted celestial mountain. If you kill him, it's equivalent to cutting off the hope of the universe. Your actions are equivalent to defying the Tao. Emperor Yi scoffed at Xiao Wanting's words. If you push me too far, so what if I defy the Tao? As soon as he finished speaking, boom! Emperor Yi's divine aura erupted and quickly enveloped Su Fong. In an instant, it turned into an ancient world. Qi! Then, a black Xian Guang shot out from the top of Emperor Yi's head and turned into a black bow. On the back of the bow, two ancient words were engraved. Falling Sun. Xiao Wanting's divine aura changed instantly as he exclaimed, Divine Bao, Falling Sun. Emperor Sang Qiu let out a thunderous roar. Emperor Yi, you're crazy. You actually want to kill Su Fong. Divine Bao, Falling Sun. It was the supreme artifact that Yi had used to shoot down the 9 divine suns. No one expected Emperor Yi to take it out now. Xiao Wanting, Emperor Sang Qiu, and Emperor Yi Dao attacked Emperor Yi at the same time, trying to stop him. Ancient Emperor Yi's world was constantly shattering, but it seemed like it could still hold on for a few breaths of time. Su Fong, my race's progenitor, shot down the 9 suns in the past. Today, I will kill you, the descendant of the 9 suns. This is your destiny. I know that you have an extremely powerful primordial spirit consciousness of a powerhouse from beyond the sky. However, my fallen sun divine Bao can unleash its power at least 10 times. How many times can that shadow help you? QL11 Emperor Yi seemed to have gone mad as he activated the perishing sun divine Bao. A green arrow quickly condensed on the fallen sun divine Bao. It was covered with heavenly marks and exploded with a shocking destructive power. The 3 emperors who were attacking Emperor Yi's world were affected by the power of the divine Bao. Their attacks began to shatter and they were forced to retreat. Xiao Wanting, Emperor Sang Qiu, and Emperor Yi Dao, the 3 emperors, were about to use their supreme divine abilities or activate their divine artifacts to stop Emperor Yi. Su Fongda shouted, 3 emperors, there's no need for you to do anything. This is a grudge between Su Fong and the Yi race. Let me settle it myself. I want to see if the fallen sun divine Bao is more powerful than my magic treasure. Then, Su Fong flipped his right hand, and the origin sacred mirror appeared in his hand. Su Fong's yang soul and 9 yang energy surged from the red mirror into the space inside the mirror. Su Fong had already contacted Shu Wanjin. At the same time, he activated the 4 symbols transformation and activated the origin sacred mirror. In the middle of the space inside the mirror, the red mirror formed by the 9 yin and 9 yang energy and the black mirror merged into one. The yin and yang sides of the mirror used Su Fong and Shu Wanjin as the axis, the 9 yang energy and the 9 yin energy as the driving force, and the 4 symbols transformation as the seal to activate it. It became a huge millstone that controlled the movement of heaven and earth and the evolution of the heavenly Tao. As the yin and yang sides rotated, a terrifying power that could crush all things in heaven and earth was rapidly brewing. Qi. At this moment, Emperor Yi also activated the fallen sun divine Bao. The green arrow exploded with a shocking divine power. In his world, the scene of the divine sun falling, the yang energy being extinguished, and all things withering appeared immediately. This arrow was enough to threaten the supreme existences of the imperial people who were half a step away from transcendence. Even the powerful existences who had transcended the heaven and earth could only avoid this attack that contained the power to destroy the world. The fallen sun divine Bao that once shot down the 9 divine suns was actually this powerful Su Fong raised the mirror surface of the Origin's sacred mirror and aimed it at Emperor Yi. At this moment, the mirror surface turned into a yin and yang fish that intertwined with each other. Furthermore, the yin and yang continued to divide. The yin was divided into yin and yang, and the yang continued to evolve into yin and yang. The entire mirror surface also changed. At this moment, the mirror was no longer a mirror. Instead, it turned into the heavenly Tao's four symbols that constantly evolved into the universe. It was an eternal cycle. Qi, the profound light, which was a mixture of red and black, instantly enveloped Emperor Yi's world. Emperor Yi's true body and his world annihilation arrow. Emperor Yi's world collapsed under the divine power of the Origin sacred mirror. Although ancient Emperor Yi was powerful, and even Xiao Wanting and the other two great emperors couldn't break through his world in a short period of time, the power of the Chaos Origin sacred mirror, driven by the four symbols transformation, could even break the shackles that the heavenly venerable of creation had personally sealed shroud you. So how could ancient Emperor Yi contend against it? It wasn't just his world. The powerful attack that he released with the fallen Sun Divine Bao was also quickly shattered and disintegrated under the power of the four symbols transformation. It returned to its origin and turned into traces of Xianguang that were devoured by the universe, formed by the Origin sacred mirror. The Origin sacred mirror. This is the true power of the Origin sacred mirror. Xiao Wanting, Emperor Sang Xiao, and Emperor Yi Dao were dumbfounded when they witnessed the Chaos Origin holy mirror's tyrannical power. Their minds buzzed with a roar. Emperor Yi was even more terrified. Only now did he realize that under the power of the Origin sacred mirror, the fallen Sun Divine Bao was nothing. It felt like a child's toy that couldn't withstand a single blow. What made Emperor Yi even more terrified and desperate was yet to come. The universe formed by the mirror instantly reverted to a mirror that was as vast as the starry sky. On the mirror, there was an additional arrow. It was the powerful attack that the fallen Sun Divine Bao had just shot out. This wasn't what made Emperor Yi terrified. What made his expression change was that his figure and the shadow of the fallen Sun Divine Bao quickly condensed on the mirror. Emperor Yi's divine body and the fallen Sun Divine Bao disintegrated under the power of the four symbols transformation and quickly turned into nothingness. On the other hand, the shadow in the mirror became more real. The power of the Origin sacred mirror that was activated by the four symbols transformation was the power of reconstruction. It could reconstruct matter, divine abilities, divine artifacts, and everything else, including life. Su Fong, my ancestor will never let you go. Emperor Yi couldn't escape the power of the four symbols transformation. In despair, he began to destroy his divine body, primordial spirit, and inner world. Even the fallen Sun Divine Bao was self-destructing and the array within was collapsing. Boom! Emperor Yi's body and the fallen Sun Divine Bao exploded together, shattering the power of the Origin sacred mirror and causing the mirror to shake violently. The power of a venerable emperor's self-destruction was extremely shocking. In addition to the supreme divine artifact, the fallen Sun Divine Bao, it finally shattered the power of the Origin sacred mirror. However, Emperor Yi paid the price with his life. A supreme venerable emperor died, just like that. The Origin sacred mirror reverted to its ancient state. Su Fong immediately used his divine power to seal the powerful attack of the fallen Sun Divine Bao that was replicated by the Origin sacred mirror in its inner space. What a pity! Emperor Yi self-destructed, and even the fallen Sun Divine Bao was destroyed. Su Fong looked at the place where Emperor Yi had disappeared with a face full of regret. The three venerable emperors, Xiao Wanting, Sang Xiao, and Wei Dao, were all dumbfounded and felt a chill run down their spines. As for the venerable emperor from the Luo clan, he had already fled without a trace when he saw that the situation was not good. At this moment, boom! Emperor Qi, who was shackled in the world by the Guanghan Emperor, finally broke out of the Guanghan Emperor's world and escaped. The shattered world transformed back into the Guanghan Emperor's original state. He transformed himself into the state of a world. As the world shattered, he was also severely injured. Although he did not die, he had completely lost the ability to fight. Su Feng, you actually killed Emperor Yi. In the world transformed by the Guanghan Emperor, Emperor Qi also saw the scene of Emperor Yi's self-destruction and was extremely shocked. Su Feng said indifferently, "It's your turn now." Su Feng raised the Origin's sacred mirror and pointed it at Emperor Qi. Emperor Qi's expression changed instantly. A fatal sense of danger surged from his heart, and he could not help but tremble. Su Feng was about to activate the Origin sacred mirror when he suddenly raised his eyebrows. In the next moment, a white-robed figure escaped from the void. It was the Imperial People's supreme expert, Di Hao. "Su Feng, you actually killed Emperor Yi, and now you won't even let Emperor Qi go?" The Imperial People's supreme existence looked at Su Feng with a sharp gaze. Boom! Su Feng suddenly felt as if the entire universe was pressing down on him. He couldn't help but stagger and stumble. Su Feng said angrily, "Lord Di Hao, what do you mean by this?" The supreme being of the Monarch clan said majestically, "At this time, the universe is facing an apocalyptic catastrophe. Every Monarch master is the mainstay of the human race. How can I sit by and watch you kill a human monarch?" Emperor Qi continued, "Su Feng, I don't have any irreconcilable enmity with you. Although I chased after your subordinate, the Xianming sect master, and tried to steal your treasure, the Xianming sect master is safe and sound. You killed so many experts of my race, so your resentment should be appeased. Let's reconcile." "Reconcile? You dare to use this trick on me?" Su Feng sneered. Su Feng displayed the domineering aura of a supreme expert. "You said you want to fight, so we fight, and you say you want to reconcile. Who do you think you are?" Emperor Qi snorted. "Su Feng, don't think you can do whatever you want in the myriad of worlds just because you have the Origin sacred mirror. If you want to kill me, you better think about the consequences." Su Feng raised his eyebrows. "Consequences?" Emperor Qi continued to threaten. "Don't forget, you're not alone. Today, it will be easy for me to escape. But after this, all of your family, friends, and subordinates in Primordius Heaven World and Primordius Heavenly Palace will be hunted down by my Qi clan. If I personally act, besides you, no one will be able to escape my pursuit. Do you not care about their lives?" Su Feng's eyes revealed a hint of fear. "Is that so?" Emperor Qi quickly struck while the iron was hot. "Aren't you just trying to fight for your dignity? I'm willing to apologize to you and compensate you with a large amount of resources. The Qi people have nothing but money. What do you think?" The Imperial People's supreme existence said majestically, "Let's do as Emperor Qi says. You two stop fighting and reconcile." Chapter 25:12. If it was in the past, Su Feng would have had no choice but to endure and give in the face of the supreme Imperial People's pressure and the threat of supreme sovereign. Unmatched Emperor clan existences, just how powerful were they? In this part of the universe, apart from a few transcendents, he was the most powerful expert. QL11 furthermore, the Imperial People had the ability to control the heavenly Tao of the myriad worlds, as well as the power to override any other force. When a supreme expert was angry, the heavens and the earth would crack, and mountains of corpses and seas of blood would flow. In the face of such a powerful existence, what other choice did Su Feng have other than to submit? Emperor Qi's threat to kill Su Feng's family and friends was not just a verbal threat. The Qi people were a powerful divine clan with an ancient inheritance, and they controlled the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. They had wealth that no other force in the myriad worlds could compare to. In addition to Emperor Qi's powerful strength, if he really targeted Su Feng's family and friends, Su Feng would not be able to stop Emperor Qi no matter how powerful he was. He would have no choice but to accept the reconciliation. However, that was then, and this was now. Now that Su Feng had become a master god, he had transcended the heavens and the earth. With supreme treasures like the Origin sacred mirror, he had the strength and confidence to suppress a sovereign and challenge the powerful imperial people. The supreme imperial people have personally stepped in, so it's not impossible for me to let Emperor Qi and the Qi people go. However, Emperor Qi dared to threaten my family, friends, and subordinates, so he must die. Murderous intent began to surge in Su Fang's heart. Seeing Su Fang's hesitation, Emperor Qi smiled and said, "Su Fang, I know that you have a good relationship with my clan's Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. Now that you have proven yourself with your own strength, you are qualified to be on equal footing with me and other sovereigns. If you cooperate with me in the future, it will be beneficial to you." The supreme imperial people said majestically, "Su Fang, what are you hesitating for? Do you dare to defy my orders? You hunted down my subordinates and Taoist companions and tried to steal my treasures. This time, you set a trap to suppress me. You even dared to threaten me with my family and friends. Emperor Qi, you deserve to die." Su Fang suddenly smiled coldly, and the image of an arrow appeared on the surface of the origin sacred mirror in his hand. It was Su Fang's four symbols transformations, the origin sacred mirror replicating the powerful attack of the fallen sun divine Bao. Qi. The arrow left the mirror and shot out. In an instant, the sky changed color. Emperor Qi's expression changed. "Su Fang, how dare you attack me? You are courting death." Su Fang stopped. The supreme existence of the imperial people roared and was about to stop Su Fang. Su Fangda shouted, "Lord Di Hao, do you intend to become enemies with the Su Fang because of Emperor Qi? Don't forget that not only do I have the origin sacred mirror, but I'm also the only one who can enter the celestial worthy mountain. I also have the means to kill transcendence." The supreme existence of the imperial people had a flash of fear in his deep eyes. Soon after, his face was filled with rage, but he had to give up on the idea of attacking. Although Emperor Jingyang claimed that Tianyang could also activate the origin sacred mirror, the supreme existence of the imperial people knew very well that Su Fang was the only one who could enter the celestial worthy mountain. Why? Others didn't know, but the supreme existence of the imperial people knew very well that the origin sacred mirror didn't only have one side. It had two sides, yin and yang. Su Fang only had the yang side. If one wanted to use the origin sacred mirror to enter the celestial worthy mountain, they had to fuse the yin and yang sides. Moreover, they had to cultivate special techniques and combine their powers to activate the origin sacred mirror. Moreover, the current Su Fang wasn't the Su Fang of the past. The shadow beside him that came from beyond the heavens could even easily kill the supreme existence of the imperial people. How could he not be afraid? In a myriad of worlds, the supreme existence of the imperial people always kept his word. No one had ever dared to go against his will. At this moment, he was being threatened by Su Fang. Naturally, he was furious. He looked at Su Fang with a cold gaze. "Su Fang, I will capture your loved ones. I will pull out their tendons and skin them alive. I will torture them to death." Emperor Qi gritted his teeth. He felt that he couldn't resist or escape. It was impossible to defend. Although the attack from the fallen sun divine, Bao wasn't powerful enough to kill the divine sun in the heavens, it was definitely enough to destroy a star region. Heavenly Tao appearance go. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Emperor Qi didn't dare to be careless. He was so scared that his entire body froze. He quickly released his Heavenly Tao appearance. His Heavenly Tao appearance was very unique. It was a coin that was 1,000 feet in size. It was round on the outside and square on the inside. It emitted a purplish gold treasure aura and divine light. It released a shocking power of destiny, the aura of wealth and dominance that could make ghosts and gods submit to it exploded. Qi, the origin's sacred mirror, replicated the arrow from the fallen sun divine Bao. It tore through the defense of Emperor Qi's Heavenly Tao appearance, and its power was constantly being depleted. However, under the unparalleled power of the fallen sun divine Bao, even the divine sun would fall. The power of the coin couldn't withstand it. Emperor Qi's Heavenly Tao appearance was shattered. The arrow turned from green to gray rapidly. It had a power that could destroy all life. Emperor Qi's life force was withering at an alarming speed. His divine body was disappearing rapidly. Lord Dihao, save me. In his panic and despair, Emperor Qi hurriedly asked the supreme existence of the imperial people for help. PFFF. The arrow pierced Emperor Qi's chest and came out from his back. It took away Emperor Qi's life force, and his divine body instantly withered. Emperor Qi's yang spirit was protected by a purplish gold magic treasure. It broke free from the dead divine body and was about to escape in a flash. Su Fong wanted to kill Emperor Qi. How could he let his yang spirit escape? Whoosh! A black disk suddenly appeared above Emperor Qi's yang spirit. Demonic light covered him faintly. The demonic aura from the ancestral demon blood plate exploded. Wave after wave of terrifying primordial spirit waves attacked Emperor Qi's yang spirit. Ancestral demon blood plate? I have the destinable artifact, fortune treasure. Even the ancestral demon blood plate can't do anything to me. Emperor Qi's yang spirit activated the purplish gold magic treasure and turned it into a shocking amount of fortune chi and primordial spirit power to resist the supreme primordial spirit power released by the ancestral demon blood plate. The power of the purplish gold magic treasure was extremely shocking. It actually defended against the ancestral demon blood plate. However, Emperor Qi's yang spirit couldn't escape. Whoosh! A black Xianguang shot out from Su Fong's pupils. It was Su Fong's second primordial spirit. Soul-shattering, thunderous roar. The roar of the primordial spirit was like thunder. Together with the power of the ancestral demon blood plate, it shattered the defense of the purplish gold magic treasure and shook Emperor Qi's yang spirit. Su Fong's second primordial spirit had devoured the Lord of the Sky Wheel. At the same time, he had also obtained Night Demon's powerful primordial spirit attack. The soul-shattering thunderous roar was one of them. Some gods who cultivated the primordial spirit great Tao had extremely powerful primordial spirit power. However, most of them only had the most superficial sword chi or palm techniques. Night Demon's primordial spirit power was different. It far surpassed the primordial spirit power that gods could master. The soul-shattering thunderous roar was equivalent to the thunder technique of the primordial spirit power. Its power was naturally extremely shocking. Once Emperor Qi's primordial spirit defense was shattered, his second primordial spirit used its primordial spirit power again. A primordial spirit shadow shot out and quickly condensed into a primordial spirit spear that shot at Emperor Qi's yang spirit. Primordial spirit spear. Poof! Emperor Qi's yang spirit was pierced by the primordial spirit spear. Immediately after, under the power of the ancestral demon blood plate, his primordial spirit was crushed into pieces. Qi people's Di Zun had fallen. Just as Su Fong was about to put away Emperor Qi's storage ring and the magic treasure, the supreme existence of the imperial people reached out and grabbed the storage ring and the magic treasure. The supreme existence of the imperial people said coldly, Su Fong, you killed Emperor Yi and Emperor Qi in succession. Even the Moon Emperor was suppressed by your prison suppression codex. Are you satisfied now? Su Fong said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. If I hadn't seen through Emperor Qi's plot this time, I would have been suppressed by them, and the Origin's sacred mirror would have been taken away by them. Is Lord Dihao willing to see this result? The supreme existence of the imperial people's face darkened. Su Fong's words hit the nail on the head. Although he didn't want Su Fong to be killed, he was planning to use Emperor Qi and the other Di Zun experts to beat Su Fong and suppress Su Fong so that he wouldn't be out of control. He didn't expect Su Fong to see through Emperor Qi's plot and kill Emperor Yi and Emperor Qi before suppressing the Moon Emperor. He was unstoppable and unstoppable. The supreme existence of the imperial people said coldly, Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi were in the wrong, but they were human experts after all. You killed them without considering the big picture and only venting your anger. That's too much. Su Fong said embarrassedly, Lord Dihao, you should have heard what Emperor Yi said before he died. It's enough to prove that he colluded with the Tao Defiance Alliance. A human spy like him should have been eliminated long ago. Emperor Yi's death isn't regrettable. What about Emperor Qi? He shouldn't have threatened me with my family. Lord, you should know my character. I've never been soft-hearted when threatening Su Fang's family. Even if it's you, I won't hesitate to offend you if you threaten my family. The supreme existence of the imperial people looked at Su Fang disdainfully. I'll tolerate you this time because of your contribution in the War of the Two Realms. If there's a next time, I'll definitely suppress you. Su Fang cupped his fists and bowed to the supreme existence of the imperial people. Lord, thank you for your magnanimity. Su Fang is very grateful. However, if my lord continues to treat me, Su Fang, as an ant, bully me, oppress me, and try to control my fate, then please forgive Su Fang's rudeness. Ew? Good, very good. It's been many years since someone spoke to me like this. You're the first. I'll remember your words. In addition, the Qi people made great contributions to the human race in the past. The Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce also plays an important role in the human world now. Once the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce collapses, the human world will definitely be in chaos. Now that you've killed Emperor Qi and countless experts of the Qi people, you can't do anything to the Qi people anymore. The supreme existence of the imperial people took a deep look at Su Fang. As they nodded, their figures flashed and disappeared into the void. Su Fang smiled proudly and was in high spirits at this moment. Chapter 25:13. Su Fang, Xiao Wanting, Emperor Sang Qiu, and Emperor Only Dao flew towards Su Fang. The three emperors looked at Su Fang with shock in their eyes. They had come to the Sky River Star Zone to help Su Fang. Who would have thought that Su Fang would not only resolve the crisis, but also kill two powerful emperors and suppress one? The remaining emperors of the Luo clan and Tru Yang fled when they saw that the situation was not good. At this time, in the eyes of the three emperors, Su Fang was no longer on the same level as them, but an expert above them. Xiao Wanting clicked his tongue and sighed. This emperor thought that I could return the favor of Su Fang's holy son, but I didn't expect that the holy son would easily resolve all the dangers without us doing anything. It seems that it won't be easy to return the holy son's favor. Emperor Sang Qiu and Emperor Only Dao sighed in their hearts, especially Emperor Sang Qiu. When Su Fang was listed on the Primordial Chaos Golden List, Emperor Sang Qiu valued Su Fang's talent and personally protected him. At that time, Su Fang was just an outstanding genius in Emperor Sang Qiu's eyes. Unexpectedly, in such a short time, Su Fang had grown to be on par with him and even surpassed him. How could Emperor Sang Qiu not be shocked by such an amazing speed of improvement? Su Fang cupped his fists and said politely, "My lords, you knew that it was dangerous, but you still came to help, even at the expense of falling out with Emperor Qi and the other emperors. I, Su Fang, will remember this favor." Seeing Su Fang being so polite, the three emperors were overjoyed. To be able to gain Su Fang's friendship was much more valuable than a divine creation artifact. The three emperors left in embarrassment. Su Fang put the Moon Emperor into the prison suppressing codex. This time, the Temple Emperor was seriously injured. It would probably take at least 1,000,000 years to recover. At this time, the Moon Emperor had already become an Emperor Master under Su Fang's command. Naturally, Su Fang would not be stingy with resources. He took out the condensing mysterious water he had obtained from the soul-sinking beach in the Nine Serenities realm and let the Moon Emperor fuse with it. Condensing mystic water was the coldest substance in the universe. It was of great help to cultivators who cultivated the great Tao of Yin. It was the perfect material for the Moon the Arch to cultivate and recover. In addition, Su Fang had devoured 3 evil sons with the Origin Sacred Mirror during the War of the Two Realms. He had refined a total of 3 crimson beads, and there was only 1 left. Su Fang extracted a small part of the energy and gave it to the Moon the Arch to cultivate. With the mystic water and the primordial chaotic qi in the crimson bead, the recovery speed of the Moon Emperor would definitely be doubled. Su Fong estimated that it would take at most 100 million years for the Moon Emperor to return to his previous peak state, and his strength would even be stronger than before. In the Tianhe sector, the 200,000 elites of the Qi people had been mostly killed by the masters under Su Fong's command. Even their bodies were devoured by the big goblin, and the Dharma treasures and resources on them were all taken by the cultivators. After the battlefield was cleaned up, Su Fong would kill Huang Lingyao and Wang Tian, Yi Jichuan, longing for the Ming sect, mechanical admiration, Zhanlai, alliance, sneer, trap, Xing, Ingding. In the Azure Forest, I killed Emperor Yi and Emperor Qi and suppressed the Moon Emperor, as well as the Luo clan, the Duanmu clan, and the Emperor Xingyang. How can you not pay the price if you want to harm Su Fong? With a domineering smile, Su Fong immediately left the Tianhe sector and returned to the Saint Temple in Yuan Tiangong. The battle in the Tianhe sector quickly spread in Yuan Tiangong and caused a great commotion. Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi were the top masters among the more than 30 supreme emperors in Yuan Tiangong. They were both from the ancient deity clans in the ancient deity realm and were powerful. No one had expected that Emperor Qi and the other 4 emperors would set up a trap in the Tianhe sector to besiege Su Fong, but they were defeated. Emperor Qi was dead. Emperor Yi was dead. Almost all the elites of the Qi people were killed, and the Moon Emperor was suppressed in the prison suppressing codex. The Emperor Zhanyang and Emperor Luo fled. To think that a lesser chief god would be able to accomplish such an astonishing feat, it was truly astounding. When the news spread, all the emperors, deity clans, and other superforces were shocked and terrified. Especially the Luo clan and the Duanmu clan, they fell into a great panic. Not only did Su Fong have the strength to kill the supreme emperors, but he also had the determination to ignore the imperial people and other superforces. What was impossible for him to destroy the Luo clan and the Duanmu clan? In a short time, Su Fong stepped on the bodies of Emperor Qi, Emperor Yi, and many other Qi people and rose to power. He was almost as powerful as the supreme imperial people. As for Yi Yantian, who had been famous for the past 10,000 years, he was once again a joke in Yuan Tiangong. Even his master, the Emperor Xingyang, had to run away when he saw Su Fong. What was his so-called genius that surpassed Su Fong? With the death of Emperor Qi and Emperor Yi, the Qi people and the Yi clan, the 2 ancient deity clans, lost their prestige. With the help of the imperial people, the Qi people were barely saved from being destroyed by Su Fong. However, Su Fong killed almost all the elites in the Qi clan, and the Qi people became a second-rate force. What was worse was that the Qi people owned the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. Almost all the forces had their eyes on the Qi people. In order to avoid being swallowed by the other forces, the Qi people had no choice but to give up the Tong Bao Chamber of Commerce. They gave 30% of it to the imperial people, 30% to Su Fong, and only 40% to the Qi people. In this way, although the Qi people were in a worse situation, they avoided being swallowed by the other forces. The fate of the Yi clan was much worse than that of the Qi people. The imperial people announced that Emperor Yi had colluded with the Tao Defiance Alliance and had betrayed the human world. Therefore, the Yi clan was completely removed from the world. Although it was said that the Yi clan was removed, it was actually swallowed by the imperial people. One had to admit that the imperial people were ruthless and domineering. The once glorious Yi clan had become a part of the history of the myriad worlds. As for Emperor Tru Yang, he had disappeared from Primordius Heavenly Palace. It was said that he had brought Yi Tianyang back to the space-time world where he cultivated in seclusion. It was clear that he feared Su Fong's retaliation and had slipped away. As for the Duanmu clan and the Luo clan, the day after the battle in the Tianhe sector, the emperor of the Duanmu clan and the emperor of the Luo clan went to the Saint Temple to visit Su Fong almost at the same time. However, in the Saint Temple, they were refused entry. Su Fong did not want to see them at all. The 2 emperors stood in the square in front of the Saint Temple like statues for 300 years, not daring to move. It was not until 300 years later that Su Fong accepted the 2 emperors' greetings in the main hall of the Saint Temple. In the end, the emperor of the Duanmu clan and the emperor of the Luo clan left the Saint Temple with gloomy faces. No one knew what they talked about with Su Fong or what price the Duanmu clan and the Luo clan paid for Su Fong to let them go. The aftermath was not over yet. Su Fong announced to the public that he was going into seclusion to break through to the intermediate chief god level. In fact, he had secretly left the Yuan Tiangong and went straight to the Sky Beacon God Realm. Su Fong's goal was clear. He wanted to return to the Abyss and let his grandfather's soul reincarnate. Next, he would enter the Advent Palace and rescue Shu Wanjin. As for his father, Su Fong, and the others who stayed in the Yuan Tiangong, as well as the Fong Tianjie and the Hunyuan Heaven Realm, he did not need to worry about them anymore. That was because in the Yuan Tiangong, besides Shao Wanting, Emperor Sang Xiao, and Emperor Yi Dao, there were two other emperors who could help Su Fong take care of his family, friends, and subordinates. Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan. Why was that? It turned out that Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan had no choice but to agree to Su Fong's conditions and obey Su Fong for 1,000,000 years in order to protect their families and their own lives. It was not just a verbal promise, nor was it a heavenly oath. When one's cultivation reached the level of an emperor, no oath could bind them, no matter how powerful it was. Instead, Su Fong used his primordial spirit ability and used the power of the Hunyuan Holy Mirror as the source to condense a seal seed and implanted it into the divine apertures and inner worlds of Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan. Moreover, Su Fong used his divine ability to condense a talisman and gave it to Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan. Once Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan went back on their word, Su Fong only had to crush the talisman to kill them. Even though Emperor Duanmu and Emperor of the Luo clan felt extremely humiliated to be Su Fong's slave for 1,000,000 years, they still chose the former over losing their lives and having their families annihilated. In this way, Su Fong did not have to worry about anything during his trip to the Ninth Underworld. Around half a month later, the Sky Beacon God Realm was in sight, and Su Fong decided to find a place to rest. Even though there would not be any danger during his trip to the Ninth Underworld, he had to pass through the various God Realms controlled by the Tao Defiance Alliance. Su Fong was not afraid of encountering the experts of the Tao Defiance Alliance. The only things he needed to worry about were his clone and the Tao Defiance Alliance's master. Su Fong did not want to cause any unnecessary trouble, so it was necessary for him to be in peak condition at all times. He saw a patch of quicksand floating in the air nearby. Quicksand was very common on both sides of the sky barrier at the moment. It had originally been a physical ruin, but during the battle of the Two Worlds Rivers, his clone had shaken the sky barrier and caused a tremor that had shattered many of the physical objects on both sides of the sky barrier. Quicksand was extremely terrifying. It could devour everything, but it could only become so terrifying when there was an interstellar storm. Su Fong used the astral insight to condense physical objects and then sat down cross-legged. Suddenly, he sensed a ripple in the air nearby, and over a dozen figures instantly tore through the air. Su Fong's current great perfection ability was extremely shocking, so he could tell their cultivation bases with a single glance. The leader was a middle-aged woman. She was dressed in luxurious palace attire, and she was plump and graceful. Her cultivation base was extremely extraordinary, having reached the shocking height of peak upper lord level. She could definitely be regarded as a powerhouse in the universe. Apart from the two young girls, the cultivators behind the middle-aged woman were all lord-level powerhouses. Chapter 25:14. Among the dozen or so cultivators that suddenly appeared, 6 of them clearly had the aura of the Duanmu divine clan. However, they did not wear the Duanmu divine clan's blue and white Taoist robes. Su Fong did not take them to heart. Even the Duanmu divine clan sovereigns were shackled by him and forced to be his slaves for 1,000,000 years. Why would Su Fong care about a few Duanmu divine clan sovereigns? One of the women caught Su Fong's attention. The woman wore a pure white Taoist robe with a lifelike plum blossom embroidered on it. Although she looked weak, She exuded a noble and pure aura. The woman's face was covered by a white veil. The white veil was a Dharma treasure that could block detection. However, Su Fang's perfect vision could see through the white veil and see the woman's face clearly. The woman looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. Her cultivation level was at the third heaven of the Tao fusing realm. Her face was flawless and beautiful. She was not inferior to Xuan Xin and Goddess Luo. Moreover, the woman's life aura was very strange. There was a faint demonic aura. However, she was not a big goblin. Instead, she was a very strange spiritual body. Su Fang's gaze swept past the cultivators and did not pay any attention to them. With his current cultivation level, such cultivators could no longer attract his attention. The cultivators flew to the material and sat down cross-legged to rest. Su Fang concealed his aura. He did not deliberately use the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to conceal his aura. He also did not use any ability that transcended heaven and earth to hide anything. He only needed to slightly conceal his aura so that the cultivators could not sense his presence. Two women among the cultivators left the others and stopped in front of a rock on the material. Su Fang smiled helplessly. It turned out that he was on the other side of the rock. However, with Su Fang's current cultivation level, it would be difficult for the two women to sense his presence at such a close distance. Suddenly, there was a strange movement in Su Fang's body. Shocked and shocked, Su Fang quickly separated his consciousness and entered the Heaven and Earth Tao Palace to take a look. It was the meridian where the 77th Yang Meridian was located. It was trembling for no reason. This meridian definitely did not look like it was about to successfully form a Yang Meridian. Instead, it seemed to have sensed some kind of aura, causing it to act strangely. Su Fang carefully sensed it and couldn't help but be surprised. It turned out that the source of the disturbance in the Yang Meridian that was being attacked came from the woman in the plum gown. Su Fang was curious and carefully sensed the woman. The more he sensed, the more he felt that the woman was strange. Thus, he stripped off his Yang spirit and entered the inner world of the Tao Foundation tree. Jinhong Wang, what kind of strange spiritual body does that woman have? She can actually make my Yang Meridian move? It turned out that Su Fang had brought along the Golden Rainbow King, who had regained his physical body when he went to the 9 underworlds this time. After the arrangements for his grandfather's reincarnation were made, Su Fang headed straight for the Advent Palace. The Advent God Palace came from the exalted Celestial Mountain. Although the Golden Rainbow King's current strength was low, he was experienced and knowledgeable. He had even entered the exalted Celestial Mountain before, so Su Fang brought him along. With the help of Su Fang's divine might, the Golden Rainbow King sensed the woman's aura and exclaimed, "This woman is somewhat extraordinary. She actually has the extremely rare plum-bone jade body." Su Fang was stunned. Plum-bone jade body? Could it be a type of true body? It's somewhat similar to a true body, but it's definitely not obtained through cultivation. It's innate. Only humans with the Plum Tree Demon Clan's bloodline can produce this plum-bone jade body by chance. So this woman has the Plum Tree Demon's bloodline. No wonder I sense the demonic aura on her body. Jinhong Wang, is there anything special about the plum-bone jade body? It's very special. It's probably difficult to find someone with the plum-bone jade body in all the realms. This kind of cultivator's cultivation talent far surpasses ordinary people. They're rare cultivation geniuses. There are so many cultivation geniuses in all the realms. There doesn't seem to be anything special about the plum-bone jade body, right? Of course, the innate talent of the plum-bone jade body isn't the most special. The most special thing is that I heard that women with the plum-bone jade body can condense a special spiritual aura called the plum spirit chi. It can help cultivators break through the shackles of their cultivation. It can even help cultivators break through to the Master God realm. Plum spirit chi? Looks like it's the plum spirit chi on that woman's body that caused the commotion in my Yang Meridian. I can use my treasures and resources to exchange for the plum spirit chi from that woman. Who knows, it might be able to help me successfully condense my 77th Yang Meridian. Hee hee. Kid, I heard that women with the plum bone jade body can only condense the plum spirit chi once in their lifetime. How can it be so easy to exchange for it? However, with your current status and strength, as long as you stand out, shake your body, and release your domineering aura, how can this woman not give you the plum spirit chi with both hands? Who knows, she might even take the initiative to throw herself into your arms. The Golden Rainbow King's words made Su Fong speechless. He quickly shut him up. Since it was related to the birth of a young meridian, Su Fong had to obtain the plum spirit chi no matter what. QL11, however, Su Fong still couldn't do something like taking things by force. He could rob those ancient divine clans and powerful forces as he wished. He could be merciless to those who offended him. However, he had never robbed those weak people. This was something that Su Fong had never done before. This was what it meant to be strong, but not bully the weak. Su Fong thought to himself, that middle-aged woman should be the senior of this woman who possesses the plum spirit chi. I just need to reveal my identity and take out some treasures to exchange for the plum spirit chi. At this moment, the woman on the other side of the rock suddenly spoke. Young Lady Mei Shiwero, are you going to go to the 9 underworld just like that and use the plum spirit chi to help Duanmu, Renjia, reincarnate? That plum rogue young lady said faintly. This is my destiny. What can I do? Su Fong was astonished. Duanmu Renjia? Wasn't he killed by Xuanxin, and even his yang spirit was killed? Why would he go to the 9 underworlds to reincarnate? Su Fong eavesdropped for a while and finally understood the whole story. It turned out that this young lady, named Mei Shiwero, came from an ancient cultivation clan called the Mei Clan. The Mei Clan had quite a lot of influence in the myriad of worlds. They controlled a star region. However, compared to those ancient divine clans in the ancient divine world, they weren't worth mentioning. In order to get close to the Duanmu divine clan, the Mei Clan used Mei Shiwero as a tool to form a marriage alliance with the exceptional genius of the Duanmu divine clan, Duanmu Renjia. Duanmu Renjia had taken a fancy to Mei Shiwero's beauty. Most importantly, it was her plum bones and jade body. That was why he agreed to marry her. Originally, Duanmu Renjia was prepared to hold a marriage alliance ceremony with Mei Shiwero when he became a master god in the future. He wanted to obtain Mei Shiwero's virginity and the plum spirit chi so that he could become a master god. Who knew that Duanmu Renjia didn't know what was good for him? After the news of Su Fong's death spread, he actually set his sights on the treasures that Su Fong left behind. In the end, he was killed by Xuanxin. Fortunately, the Duanmu divine clan had a forbidden technique called the soul nurturing technique. Those important figures in the clan used the soul nurturing technique to nurture a split soul and placed it in the Duanmu divine clan's soul nurturing pool. Unless it was a divine ability like the Tianji life shrinking technique that erased fate, even if the original body died, the split soul would be fine. Thus, the split soul could be used to reconstruct a physical body and be revived. Duanmu Renjia was the most outstanding genius of the Duanmu divine clan. Naturally, he had nurtured a split soul. Although the original body was killed by Xuanxin, the split soul was still around. Although he could be revived after reconstructing a physical body, his cultivation talent would be gone. Thus, the Duanmu divine clan decided to send Duanmu Renjia's split soul to the 9 underworlds to reincarnate. In order to ensure that Duanmu Renjia's split soul would retain its consciousness and, at the same time, to have the same talent as before after reincarnating, they brought Mei Shiwero along. They wanted to borrow her Mei Ling Qi to allow Duanmu Renjia to reincarnate. That middle-aged woman was Mei Shiwero's mother. She was her biological mother and not her stepmother. In order to climb up the Duanmu divine clan, she didn't even hesitate to sacrifice her biological daughter. What a coincidence! The Duanmu divine clan's objective for heading to the 9 underworlds was actually the same as Su Fong's. Young mistress, that Prince Dishu has admired you for a long time. Moreover, he is the peerless genius that the imperial people nurtured after Di Yuan's death. He is also very handsome and is many times better than Duanmu Renjia. As long as young mistress agrees to become Prince Dishu's concubine, the Duanmu divine clan won't be able to do anything to young mistress. The woman who accompanied Mei Shiuro was originally her maid. Now, she was actually speaking on behalf of the imperial people's genius Dishu. Dishu? Mei Shiuro said coldly. Dishu is lustful. Who doesn't know that he is in the Yuan Tiangong? He only covets my beauty and my plum spirit chi. Once he gets my body and plum spirit chi, I'll be nothing more than a toy for him. Once he's tired of me, he'll toss me aside. Lu Chi, don't ever mention this again. That maid named Lu Chi said embarrassedly, Young mistress, aren't you a little too arrogant? You don't even care about Prince Dishu. In the myriad of worlds, which man can you care about? There was a moment of silence. Mei Shiuro sighed faintly. In a myriad of worlds, other than a man like Su Fong, who else can I care about? That time in Dubby Hall, I saw with my own eyes that he killed his way into the imperial people's grand ceremony in order to save his Dao companion, Xuanxin. With his strength alone, he shocked the heavens and earth. Even the supreme existences of the imperial people couldn't do anything to him. Now, to save the myriad of worlds, he killed a venerable sovereign in anger for his family. If such a man can become his Dao companion, I will have no regrets in my life. Su Fong. Lu Chi's voice was filled with reverence when she mentioned Su Fong's name. At this moment, in the myriad of worlds, who didn't respect or fear Su Fong? Behind a rock, Su Fong touched the tip of his nose. He was quite pleased with himself. He didn't expect to meet his admirer here. Jin Hong Wang laughed loudly from the inner world of the Jinmu tree. Boy, I didn't expect that such a beautiful woman would worship you so much even though you're not that handsome. Quickly show yourself and accept this woman. Not only the Mei Ling Qi, but also this beautiful woman will be yours. Ha ha! Scram! Su Fong directly sealed the inner world of the Jinmu tree. He couldn't hear Jin Hong Wang's clamor anymore. Chapter 25:15. The middle-aged woman looked at Mei Shiuro with a frosty gaze. Before young Master Duanmu, Renjia met with an accident. You were unapproachable. Prince Dishu took a liking to you, but you didn't know how to appreciate his kindness. You made all sorts of excuses. This time, we are going to the 9 underworlds to help young Master Duanmu, Renjia reincarnate. If you make any mistake and bring disaster to our clan, don't blame me for being heartless. Mei Shiuro said woodenly. Yes, mother. The middle-aged woman said coldly. The 9 underworlds is extremely dangerous. Even Su Fong and Dishuan almost died there. Although we have experts from the Duanmu Divine Clan with us, we are still weak. When we reach the Sky Beacon Divine World, we will recruit more experts. I am currently discussing this matter with the lords of the Duanmu Divine Clan. Let's go and get closer to the lords of the Duanmu Divine Clan. It will be beneficial for you in the future. The 3 of them left in embarrassment. Mei Shiuro's plum spirit energy can help me condense a yang meridian. I have to grab this opportunity no matter what. As for how to get the plum spirit energy, it will take some time. Su Fong pondered for a while. At this moment, the birth of a yang meridian was extremely difficult. Moreover, it was extremely important to Su Fong. The opportunity to condense a yang meridian was right in front of him. How could Su Fong miss it? If the plum spirit energy was in the hands of the experts from the Duanmu Divine Clan, Su Fong wouldn't mind killing them and snatching the treasure. However, it was in the hands of a weak woman. Su Fong didn't know what to do. He couldn't just shackle Mei Shiuro and take away her plum spirit energy. Or, as the Golden Rainbow King said, he could jump out and reveal his identity. After shaking his body, he could force the other party to obediently hand over the plum spirit energy. Su Fong felt a headache coming on. It just so happens that the Duanmu Divine Clan and Plum Clan are recruiting experts to enter the 9 underworlds. I might as well blend in with them and wait for an opportunity to obtain the plum spirit energy. If there is no opportunity, I might as well take it by force. At most, I will save Mei Shiuro from the fire pit and give her freedom and good fortune. Su Fong made up his mind. He quietly left the quicksand and headed straight for the Sky Beacon God Realm. At this time, the Sky Beacon God Realm had yet to recover from the previous battle. Shattered matter was everywhere, and it was a complete mess. Since the Tao Defiance Alliance had retreated from the River of Two Realms, the Sky Beacon God World was no longer as important as before. There weren't as many cultivators and big goblin in the God World as before. However, along with the eruption of another upheaval of the heavens and the earth, the cultivation resources throughout the universe grew even more scarce. Many gods and greater demons had headed to the divine world, desolate lands, danger zones controlled by the Tao Defiance Alliance in search of treasures and resources. The Sky Beacon God World was the only entrance to the other side of the Sky Curtain. So many experts had gathered in the Sky Beacon God World. Moreover, there were even Emperor Realm experts present to prevent spies from the Tao Defiance Alliance from infiltrating the human world. Su Fong unleashed his ability to transcend heaven and earth. He passed through the outer barrier of the Sky Beacon God Realm and appeared in a city built on material at the center of the realm. He used his physical ability to change his appearance. At the same time, he changed his aura and blended into the crowd on the streets outside the city. 10 days later, Su Fong sensed that Mei Shiuro and the others had entered the Sky Beacon God World. They stayed in an inn and began to recruit experts. As a result, Su Fong disguised himself as a mercenary in his early 30s. His face was covered in stubble, and he looked like he had experienced the vicissitudes of life. He also suppressed his cultivation to the third heavenly stage of the Tao integration stage. When they arrived at the inn, Su Fong stated his purpose for coming. The inn staff brought him to a courtyard behind the inn. There were already over 100 cultivators gathered in the courtyard. Most of them were Tao integration stage cultivators, but there were very few over-gods. They had all come for the generous reward from the Mei clan. This time, the Duanmu Divine Clan had put in a lot of effort to let Duanmu Renjia reincarnate. They did not appear in the name of the Duanmu Divine Clan. Obviously, they were worried that the news would leak out. If Su Fong found out, not only would Duanmu Renjia be reincarnated, but it would also bring great trouble to the Duanmu Divine Clan. After all, Duanmu Renjia had repeatedly provoked Su Fong. Su Fong would definitely not be willing to see him alive. The Duanmu Divine Clan's experts did not expect that not only did Su Fong already know about the news, but he was also preparing to infiltrate them and enter the 9 underworlds. This time, he had used the name of the Mei clan to recruit experts. He claimed that he wanted to enter the 9 underworlds to search for the absolute Yin treasure. The reward was 100,000 creation holy pills and a royal-grade divine weapon. As Su Fong, Di Xuan, Chu Bingyin, and the others entered the 9 underworlds and brought back the nether sand, they contributed greatly to the human race. The legendary 9 underworlds was no longer so mysterious to the human world. There were even many daring cultivators and big goblin who had infiltrated the territory controlled by the Tao Defiance Alliance and entered the 9 underworlds to search for treasures. Some of them really did return with great rewards. Now that the cultivation resources in the human world were scarce, the temptation of 100,000 creation saint pills and a royal grey divine artifact to cultivators was not ordinary. Therefore, the Plum Clan's recruitment this time made many cultivators scramble like ducks. The person who presided over the recruitment test was an elder from the Mei clan. His cultivation base was at the level of a lesser lord. The cultivators who came to participate in the recruitment took turns to take the test. The Mei clan's conditions for recruiting experts were also quite harsh. Their cultivation base had to be at least Tao integration stage, and they also had to possess special divine abilities and abilities. That was not surprising. Although the human world now had some understanding of the 9 underworlds, the 9 underworlds was a land of death after all. At the same time, it was also a forbidden area for human cultivators. The Mei clan recruited experts to enter the 9 underworlds to contribute, not to die. Naturally, the conditions for recruiting experts were more stringent. Almost all the cultivators who passed the Mei clan elders test were late-stage Tao integration stage experts. Those who were below late-stage Tao integration stage were directly eliminated with a glance from the elder without having to test them personally. After about 6 hours, it was finally Su Fong's turn. Early stage Tao integration stage. The Mei clan elder frowned when he sensed Su Fong's aura and his dejected appearance. Then, he waved his hand and said, "The Mei clan will encounter countless dangers when entering the 9 underworlds this time. Early stage, Dao integration stage, cultivators will not be of any use. Instead, they will be a burden. The Mei clan will not spend money to hire a burden." The Mei clan elder's words attracted many disdainful gazes. Su Fong put on a pleading expression. "Although my cultivation base is not high, the great Dao I cultivate is very rare. It's just right for me to enter the 9 underworlds." Oh, the Mei clan elder's interest was finally piqued. He carefully sized up Su Fong a few times. Suddenly, he became spirited and his eyes became hale and hearty. "I can see that your aura seems to contain a kind of death chi. Could it be that you cultivate the great Dao of death?" Cultivators who cultivated the great Tao of death were known as evil cultivators in the myriad worlds. However, at this time, the calamity was sweeping across the myriad worlds. There was no such thing as the righteous Tao or the evil Tao. As long as one was not a Tao-defiant cultivator, one would not be hunted down by the righteous Tao like before. "My lord, your eyes are like torches. You can see through my cultivation base in an instant. I cultivate the great Tao of death. Moreover, I'm quite lucky. Previously, in the lifeless wasteland of the Two Worlds River, I was lucky enough to kill a demon clan expert. Not only did I obtain his demonic poison, but I also obtained a demonic weapon that stored a lot of Enhel chi. Therefore, I have mastered a certain amount of demonic poison and Enhel chi." The Mei clan elder said majestically, "It's useless to just talk about it. Show me your demonic poison and Enhel chi. If it's really as you say, I can make an exception and let you join us." After saying that, the elder formed a seal and shot out a Xian Guang that exuded a cold aura. It quickly materialized into a lifelike plum blossom that floated in front of Su Fong. The Mei clan elder said, "If you can corrode my plum blossom with demonic poison and Enhel chi, I'll take you in." Su Fong secretly transmitted his thoughts to Huang Lingyao, who was in the world tree in his inner world. At the same time, he ordered Gue to use her poison. Then he waved his hand and rolled out a gust of Enhel chi that enveloped the plum blossom. QL11, the Enhel chi that contained the power of coldness and death, instantly turned the plum blossom yellow. Then Su Fong released a dark, poisonous gas that wrapped around the plum blossom. After a series of sizzling noises of corrosion, the plum blossom was immediately corroded into pieces. The branches were also full of holes. Huang Lingyao was the successor of the Enhel divine clan. Now that she had fallen into the path of death, how shocking was her Enhel chi. As for Gue, it had devoured the demonic poison from the ancestral demon to detoxify Shao Wanting. At this moment, its poison could even kill a venerable emperor. That Mei clan elder was only a lesser lord. How could a plum blossom formed by a divine ability resist Huang Lingyao's Enhel chi and Gue's poison? Su Fong had only borrowed less than 1% of Huang Lingyao's and Gue's abilities to easily corrode the plum blossom. This scene caused the surrounding cultivators to cry out in surprise. The way they looked at Su Fong immediately changed. The mockery and ridicule from before disappeared, replaced by awe and shock. The Plum Clan's elder's eyes shone brightly as he nodded repeatedly. "Extraordinary, very extraordinary. Even I would find it troublesome to deal with your underworld shadow energy and demonic poison. You will be of use in the 9 underworlds. You have been recruited by my Plum Clan." Su Fong pretended to be overjoyed. "Thank you, sir. What's your name?" "This humble one is called Su Tianyan. I'm a rogue cultivator." The Mei clan elder nodded. "Su Tianyan, that's a good name. As long as you perform well in the 9th underworld, I can even make the decision to let you join the Mei clan and become a cultivator with a different surname. I guarantee that you'll be 100 times stronger than you are now." This time, Su Fong was even more ecstatic. At this moment, a young girl in green walked out of the living room. It was Mei Shuoro's maid, Lu Qi. 5th elder, The young miss said that Su Tianyin should stay by her side and become her guard. Lu Chi said to the Plum clan's elder. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. All the cultivators turned to look at Su Fong, each and every one of them filled with envy. The Mei clan's miss, Mei Shuoro, was a famous beauty in the universe. Su Fong had just been recruited, and Mei Shuoro wanted him to be her guard. His luck was simply heaven-defying. Even Su Fong himself was confused. He could not understand why Mei Shuoro would take a liking to such a weathered and downtrodden uncle like him.